welcome to the welcome to the show for tonight. Um, Not normally here on a Saturday, but great to have you, and we hope that you will stay with us until later on this evening. The Cooper's Pen story continues to be a massive story in Jamaica. And I expect that over the course of the next couple of days, there is going to be an angle that the story is going to take. And it is going to be very, very interesting. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the judge, the land, and the unfinished emancipation of Jamaica. The judge, the land, and the unfinished emancipation of Jamaica. That's what's going to be on the neighbors' notes tonight. We are hoping to be joined by Member Harry and Member Scratchy and discuss this for you. Tap and share and tell your friends that we're on, because we never normally come here on a Saturday, but today is an exception. It's interesting, and we want to make sure that we keep you abreast of what is happening. Let me go over to TikTok and say good evening to my producer Caroline. How are you doing? Hi.
Good evening, neighbor. What one, neighbor?
She asked me what one. I spent today, Caroline, reading through the messages on YouTube. And I think I want to share a couple of them with you and with the listeners. If I could get my my system up here, just give me a minute. It's very, very interesting what our listeners are saying about you. They are very, very happy with you, Caroline.
Me?
Yes, the listeners.
Did you know that Price Smart?
Sorry about that. The listeners are having they're having all type of things to say about you, how pretty you are and all of that. I didn't even know. Oh yeah, I brought you over to YouTube, and the YouTubers are having a fantastic time. Oh, I tell you. Anyway, they're having a great time with your picture over there. You did quite a bit for the show last night. I think we had record numbers just by the fact that we have your picture up.
Oh dear.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, neighbor.
Yes.
I was actually thinking about you today.
About me?
Yes, sir.
What you were thinking about?
Well, neighbor, neighbor, you're such a great person.
Oh my God, am I really?
Yes, you are. And you show us so much care and affection, and I think you lead a great team.
Well, yes.
And I just want to let you know that we do love and appreciate you.
Oh, really?
I personally have a lot of admiration for the work you do.
Oh.
The passion, the time, everything you do.
Yes.
Just know that we really do appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. You're making me blush here. I have a green cup. Let me take a sip of water.
Please don't change the color.
Not at all. Not at all. But
Yes,
but I appreciate that because you know that it has been a lonely walk sometimes, Caroline. A lot of people don't know the struggles, and even myself personally, I'm in transition, so it's been a struggle, but I'm here. So I thank you for that. I really do.
okay, well, neighbor, just know that when I speak for the team, you know?
Okay, thank you.
We really do.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you.
Of course.
They
Good
mean a lot
evening,
to me.
YouTube and Facebook and X and TikTok, my favorite people. Good evening. Trust you all had a great day. Asking you on YouTube to like and subscribe. Facebook, please share, repost, as well as X. And for TikTok, I need a heart, niece, please. Need you to tap, share, repost. And neighbor, for you, have a great show.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. He's a host over there at Nationwide. Thank you so much. Yesterday,
TikTok, please send a heart, niece, please.
Said Bernard was on with George Davis, and I want you to listen again to a portion of that tape with Mr. Bernard and Mr. George Davis. I want you to listen a little bit of it. That's not the tape. Let's get to the tape soon. All right, let's get to it. Go ahead. All right, let's go there.
So it says that very important among the reasons was that the court found that there was no public purpose element of the minister's claim. Why did the court find that there was no public purpose element in this matter, Mr. Bernard?
Now imagine, George, you live in a country where you've worked hard, you've saved, you pull shifts, you've been here from morning and you're still here. You buy a piece of land and the government just comes and say, I'm going to take the property from you, I'm going to buy it from you because I'm going to give it to me. Yeah? That is what the Constitution can't allow.
Yes.
And Section 18 of the Constitution, it allows for the compulsory acquisition of land under that law and compensation, access to the court, but it must be for a public purpose. Yeah. Now the judge, when referring back to Section 25 of the Housing Act, he says it creates a presumption that acquisition for a scheme is for a public purpose, but he held that that presumption is rebuttable and that the court is entitled to look beyond the veil, look beyond the stated purpose, look beyond what is in the affidavits, look beyond what the minister has said and see whether or not it is a sham. Now, this principle of law, George, takes shape from the 1800s in a case called Street and Montfort in England, where the judge said, you cannot call a spoon a fork and it must be accepted as a fork. You must look beyond. And if you call it a fork, it does not matter as long as the subject looks and operates like a spoon. Same principle here. So, Justice Campbell went on in paragraph 36 of the judgment, frankly speaking, very blunt to say the stated or alleged purpose of the claimant, the Minister of Housing, is not for general interest of the community, but merely for private individuals voluntarily associated together for their own benefit. There can be no public purpose or furtherance of the general interest of the community as opposed to the particular interest of individuals, requiring the respondent to locate these families on its land in flagrant breach of the orders of this court. It tells me, George, that Justice Campbell here was very upset as to what took place after his sister judge made rulings in 2007.
Okay, so I'm gonna take you to the section where the judge made some comments that I believe are devastating and ought to be examined, especially because we just celebrated Emancipation. We call it Emancipendence. Independence and emancipation. I want you to listen. We'll get into it. Good evening to you. If you're just joining us, like, share, subscribe. If you're on TikTok or you're on YouTube, welcome. You're in the neighbor's notes. Go ahead.
TikTok,
All right.
please.
So there are some passages that I'm sure you have highlighted as you read, and when you felt what the court had to say about the moving matter. You mentioned paragraphs 36 and 38. Any of the paragraphs have caught your eye and why?
Yes, 46 of the judgment of Justice Campbell's judgment, 47 as well. He says the Housing Act and the Land Acquisition Act do not provide for the compulsory acquisition of privately owned land in order to transfer an interest to a community of persons who have occupied those lands despite their efforts of the owner to evict. Very important. This dispels any labeling of adverse possession because they're not in open, undisturbed possession. No, it's not undisturbed, despite the efforts of the owner to evict. And furthermore, again, the judge is upset because it is in defiance of the orders of the Supreme Court. I share the view of my brother, Justice McIntosh, that the application of the claimant is insincere and iniquitous. The Constitution protects private property and does not provide cover for the acquisition of private property in order to regularize the unlawful occupation of squatters. He goes on for paragraph 47. I have not been shown any authority that imposes an obligation on a private landowner to make available his land to a community of persons in unlawful occupation in order to prevent those persons bringing on social unrest. The Constitution does not reserve the right to ownership of large tracts of land to persons of any particular social class, color, or creed. Justice McIntosh was driven to describe the earlier application on behalf of the occupants as insincere and iniquitous. The third time, using the same two insincere and iniquitous. No doubt because of the total disregard for the defendant's fundamental rights. This court has formed the view that the hardship that has been visited on the defendant appears to be a consequence of a view on which public officials and the claimant
Now, here is the comment from the judge. Listen to it carefully.
seemed to have acted that Mr. Chisholm, and this is the most potent, Mr. Chisholm, not being from a line of traditional large land owners, has no right to ownership of such relatively large tracts of land. If I am correct in that view, the remedy to that malady is an emancipation of those minds so enslaved.
Oh gosh. Oh, there you have it. There you have it. From the judge that looked at this matter. Now, the judge's language there is extraordinarily important in understanding the deeper history behind Cooper's pen. All that have come out of Cooper's pen last week is the emotions, the empathy. The judge's comments needs to be handled carefully. A judge's observation about a possible mindset is not the same as a judicial finding. But when one considers the posture of the PNP, you would have thought that they were clueless about Cooper's pen. And the PNP was not. Mark Jefferson Golding was fully aware of what was happening. It is an amazing story, and it speaks to whether or not Jamaica is thoroughly and completely emancipated. It is a fascinating story. I checked today the Jamaica Supreme Court's record. The court identifies the relevant matter as the Chisholm James Henry versus New Falmouth Resort Limited et al. That's the name of the case. Suit number E254-2001, involving James Henry Chisholm, I want you to note that there are also later court records describing the wider dispute involving the land, the squatters, listen to this, the intervention of the government, the People's National Party was aware. They were fully au fait with this matter. And it has been a long-running struggle. Cooper's pen did not emerge in abeyance. It did not just pop up. Cooper's pen is a 20-year case. 20 years. The judge's words are philosophically profound. What was the judge actually saying? The key passage, and I'm going to quote what the judge said. I'm going to quote it. The judge says, the hardship, listen carefully, the hardship suffered by Mr. Chisholm. In other words, the landowner suffered hardship. The hardship suffered by Mr. Chisholm appeared to result from a view held by public officials and the claimant that because he, Mr. Chisholm, did not come from a traditionally large landowners, he had no right to own such a large parcel of land. I want to read that again, and I think you should draw up in your chair. Draw up in your chair and ask yourself, really? Hear what the judge says? The judge says that there appeared to be a view held by public officials or agents of the state and the claimant that because Mr. Chisholm did not come from a tradition of large landowners. He had no right to own such a large parcel of land. And that the remedy was an emancipation of minds. Those are immortal words written by a judge in Jamaica. This is a remarkable statement. It is a remarkable statement because the judge appears to be identifying a possible social prejudice beneath the legal dispute. The judge seemed to be identifying a possible social prejudice beneath the legal dispute. In other words, there seemed to be an implication here that this matter is not only legal, it is prejudicial because Mr. Chisholm does not come from a family or a tradition of large landowners. That should make every Jamaican pause and ask, is this for real? Could this really be so? In plain English, the judge seems to be asking, is this really just a dispute about law? Or is there an underlying assumption that someone like Mr. Chisholm is somehow not the kind of person who ought to own a large piece of land in Jamaica? Kiss me neck. My God. This I need Rusty. Guys, I wanna take my time because this is fascinating stuff. Hear what the judge says. The hardship suffered by Mr. Chisholm appear to result from a view held by public officials. Now, these are people working for the government, the PNP government at the time, and the claimant, that because Mr. Chisholm did not come from a tradition of large landowners, in other words, he's not a tapanaris, he had no right to own such a large parcel of land. In other words, what you are doing with such piece of big land, or you come by this big old piece of land, and that the remedy the judge suggests was the emancipation of minds. In other words, the minds of the politicians and the public officials were still enslaved. I want to ask you Jamaican people who have voted for the PNP over the years, to ask yourself this question. were you voting for a set of colonial masters? This statement, you see, is fundamentally important to examine in the context of how the PNP has governed. It explains a lot psychologically. It explains a lot. A judge of the appeals court in Jamaica says that the remedy was the emancipation of minds. In other words, poor people had no chance under this type of leadership. The poor man in Jamaica, if he ever step up in a life, the state at the time would take you to court to make sure that your assets were turned over to them. And we talk about democracy. You know what is egalitarianism? We talk about democracy. And we talk about government. And you know, I will say this. The People's National Party, I grew up in a Jamaica, come here say, they were the party of the poor. That they were the poor people's party. And even today, there is a cultural hold on many Jamaicans. Traditional too. They love the People's National Party. It is a remarkable statement. It is a remarkable statement by a judge. Because the judge appears to be identifying social prejudice beneath the legal dispute. In plain English, the judge seemed to be asking, is this really a dispute about law and land? Or is there an underlying assumption that someone like Chisholm is somehow not the kind of person who ought to own a large piece of land? Fascinating stuff. And my listeners, this goes to the heart of the Jamaican experience. Because land is never merely land. If you have land in Jamaica, it represents wealth. Land is not merely land. Land is security. Land is not merely land. Land is social status. Land is not merely land. Land is inheritance. Land is not merely land. Land is political power. Land is not merely land. Land is independence. Land is not merely land. Land is identity. Land is not merely land. Land is historically freedom, wealth, security, social status, inheritance, political power, independence, identity. And under colonialism and slavery, the ownership and control of land were deeply connected to the ownership and control of human beings. The plantocracy, the plantation system created an extraordinary unequal relationship between land, wealth, and power. The plantocracy. And you want to tell me that in 2026 Jamaica, 2026, 2026, a judge of Jamaica is speaking about prejudice, that agents of the state are prejudicial against a man who them never think say should have owned such a large piece of land. You know, emancipation ended slavery, but it did not magically redistribute the economic structures that slavery had created. In Jamaica achieved legal emancipation in the 19th century. But the social and economic consequences of the plantation system continued. And that politicians in Jamaica today are being alleged to have been continuing the plantation ideology in Jamaica, although independent, is a damn disgrace. Is a damn disgrace. And if the people of Jamaica allow this moment to pass, this moment must define the future of Jamaica and the Jamaican politics. This statement by this judge. Because Jamaica's own historical material recognizes full emancipation in 1838 as the end of the slavery system. So when a Jamaican judge uses the word emancipation in a dispute about land ownership, that is not casual language. A judge is a learned man, a man who has studied the law and history. And when a judge in a judgment use the word emancipation in a case involving politicians, your government, on the matter of land ownership, that is not casual language. Lord God Almighty, when Jamaicans are going to wake up? When? When Jamaicans are really going to wake up? Because the judge is essentially invoking the unfinished psychological dimension of emancipation. The judge is not saying that Mr. Chisholm needs physical emancipation. That's not what the judge is saying.
Asking everyone to repost the live and to send a heart mace, please. And for you too, please give us the thumbs up over there. Thanks.
Listen carefully. The judge is not saying that Mr. Chisholm needs physical emancipation. The judge is suggesting that other people's thinking needs to be emancipated. And the other open and close quotation, people include lead. Oh God. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. That is an extraordinary point. Because the judge appears to be saying that you can abolish slavery as a legal institution and still retain ideas about who is naturally entitled to wealth, land, and social power. That is the philosophical concept of mental emancipation. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. It is very close to the idea later popularized by Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley. Physical freedom is not necessarily the same as psychological freedom. What a shame. And today Jamaica continues to debate this very question, because recent commentary around emancipation has focused on the distinction between liberation of the body and liberation of the mind. This is where that old judgment becomes fascinating, because I'm linking it now to Cooper's pen. The present Cooper's pen controversy is again forcing Jamaica to confront the relationship between land ownership, social class, historical inequality, informal occupation, and political power. And we have to be careful that we do not turn this into a simplistic story, because it is not. Remember that the PNP is aware of the case. As a matter of fact, the PNP are the ones that took the case to court. And it is to the PNP that the judge made those comments. We have to be careful that we do not turn this into a simplistic story. Because the wider court record is revealing. In litigation involving New Falmouth Resort, the court record describes long-standing occupation by squatters, attempts to remove occupants, and the government involvement and efforts to find solution involving the landowners and the occupants. That means that Cooper's pen isn't simply a story that began when the bulldozers arrived. All of you, some of you, I call you with the greatest of respect, half-wits. Half-wits. You know, Alexander Pope, and I take this own advice myself. I take this piece of advice myself. Alexander Pope said that a little learning is a dangerous thing. A little learning is a dangerous thing. And a lot of people you see running up and down like a mad ants on social media. They are just misleading. You know, the Prime Minister said that the government is going to be prosecuting them I can't wait. I can't wait. You know, I was talking to someone from Cuba today, and I asked the person if I could get an interview, and they said no, I can't give you an interview. Listen to this carefully. I can't give you an interview because the Cuban government will arrest you if you speak negative about Cuba. I wanted an interview with the person to get an understanding of some of the issues that Jamaicans are facing in Cuba with the Cuban crisis now unfolding. And the person says, no, I can't. I said, why I can't? She said, no, I can't give you an interview because if I do that, I would be arrested by the Cuban government. I can't speak negatively about what is happening in Cuba. Jamaica too free. Jamaica too free. And freedom, let me tell you this, freedom is the destruction of humanity. A free man is not a safe man. An uncontrolled and unrestrained man is not a safe man. And if you understand theology, you'd understand that freedom is not a good thing. Too much freedom. Freedom destroys us. It is the very freedom that you have why many of you are in the mess that you are in today. You know, I tell young men, I give young men this piece of advice. I say, young man, as soon as you start working and you get a woman, surrender your freedom to the woman and you will become a man. I give that piece of advice to young men. I say, young men, don't hide anything from your woman or your wife. Don't hide it from her. Every time you get pay, give your wife your pay. Every cent. And see if she don't make you into a man. It is your freedom. It's the freedom that you want while your life mash up. An unexamined life is not worth living. Jamaicans have too much freedom and that mash up with country. Okay? You work your money, carry your envelope home, and give every dollar to your wife. And if you do that, you will never fail, young men. You will never fail. You can only fail when you hide your money from your wife. Because if that woman love you, boss man, you can't broke. You can't broke. But you think say you're free and you're a big man and you have your thing and you leak money like sieve. And all when you're 50, 60, you wonder where you go. Gonna hear a bank. You can't draw when you lodge it at the hearing bank. You can't draw out back. Go draw out back. Yeah. Anyway, take fun up. Take serious thing make joke. Take serious thing make joke.
Asking everyone to tap the screen, share the live, repost the live, and send a heart news, please.
Can't wait for the Prime Minister to start bring legislation and documents to Parliament to start lock up some of them mischievous lying bloggers online. If Jamaica is to be fixed, online bloggers must be more responsible. And some of them must be taken off the air. They must be taken off the air. They must be removed from the air in the public's interest. They are mash up Jamaica. They are going to mash up Jamaica. TikTokers, some of them TikTokers you see out there, they are going to mash up Jamaica. No joke. No joke. Because you can't run a country and develop a country on illiteracy and ignorance. Can't work. A country will thrive with greater state control of information. When that information is factual, disseminated to a nation. Okay? When the information is disinformation, disseminated to a nation that has a proclivity for foolishness. That is the destruction of your people. And I'm speaking to the government this evening. It is an urgent matter. It is existential. It must happen before year end. We must find a way. We have to find a solution to deal with online bloggers. I call them the existential threat to Jamaica's progress. I don't want to call their names because their names are not even worthy. They are not even worthy to be named. Calling their name may cause you to have something wrong with your mouth. Their names are filth. They are unpatriotic. They are some of the worst people I could ever find. As a matter of fact, there are people around the world wondering why Jamaica is allowing these people to mash up the country online. Why? How can you have a country growing, prospering like Jamaica is prospering, and you can't find a way to arrest? And when I said arrest, I'm not talking about physically arresting now. To arrest misinformation and disinformation by these online half-wits. The Cooper Spence story did not begin when the bulldozers arrived. The Cooper Spence story is a product of a much larger historical failure of the People's National Party. The bulldozers that arrived in Cooper Spence would not have arrived had the People's National Party acted in a different, with integrity. And that is the story. PNP caused Cooper Spence. And they go down there like a hypocrite. If I talk tonight, you see, Hope Road come for me. But they can't come for me. I'm afraid of no boy. I'm afraid of no girl. It's true. It's true. The Cooper Spence story did not begin with the bulldozers. It is the product of a failed PNP government, a bankrupt People's National Party government, and a deceptive set of politicians. And all of you people down in Cooper Spence, you have my regards. You have my regards. And I sympathize with you. But I will have to tell you the truth. That those who came down there empathizing with you are the very ones that put you in that position. They are like Judases. They have sold you out and have caused your homes to be demolished. Run them away. When they come back here, run them away. And that is the story. And it is a factual story. The Cooper Spence story is a product of a much larger historical failure of the PNP. And I tell you this, the same thing. You hear them talking about container homes. Look at Westmoreland. Look at Westmoreland. When Hurricane Melissa came, if I, suppose a society repeatedly communicates directly or indirectly. People like you don't own land like that. What happens psychologically? The psychological dimension is even more interesting, Adam Smith speaks of the poverty of aspirations. It is the polarized society that is perpetually at war, You have what is called internalized inferiority. Because people can eventually internalize the belief that wealth, large property, and economic power belongs naturally to someone else. The person doesn't merely lack property. They begin to believe they are not the sort of person who should possess it. That's a psychological domination. And then you encourage what is called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness. Because if generations of people repeatedly encounter institutions they perceive as being controlled by people with greater wealth and status, they may develop the belief that fighting the system is futile. And therefore, it produces in them resignation because they now accept that nothing will change. Or alternatively, it can produce explosive resistance. You ever wonder why the PNP won 4 terms? It's not on performance. It is on psychology. The PNP did not win on performance. They won on psychology. My time is going. But let me share something else with you, because the judge's statement also raises a question about class, not only race. And this is important. The judge referred to traditional large landowners. That phrase suggests that the issue was not necessarily simply black versus white. It can also be understood as established landed elites versus newcomers to significant property ownership. That distinction is important in Jamaica because the colonial society created landed and commercial elites. But post-emancipation, the post-emancipation Jamaica also produced black and brown Jamaicans who accumulated property and become landowners. And here is the struggle that the present Prime Minister is struggling with. Is right here, so. Non-Jamaicans' legitimacy as a property owner should depend on their ancestry, their color, their family history, or their social class. If you are black in Jamaica and you work hard and you want buy land, buy land. If you lawfully acquire 1 acre, it is yours. If you lawfully acquire 1,000 acres of land, it is yours. There is no law that can say you don't look like the kind of person who should own 1,000 acres of land. That would be an aristocracy of property. And what we are seeing here in Cooper's Pen is aristocracy of property. That's what the court is saying. Chisholm should not be owning so much land. Aristocracy of property. That's the class war in Jamaica. Classism and wholeness as the Prime Minister of Jamaica is facing that very fight. Because if they could take Mr. Wholeness to court, as a matter of fact, he is in court. And he's in court for the very reason that as a black man, he not to own what he own. Same thing is happening to, probably, allegedly, supposedly, Dr. Andrew Wheatley, where this black man ago with $67 million. Where him go with that? Aristocracy of property. It's a classes. That's what the judge said. We need an emancipation of the mind. So black man can't work and own nothing. Where him come from? Which family did Wholeness originate from? You not have the right color, your family history, or your social class. And that is why the Topanaris comment was offensive, and is offensive still. Look upon your house. You notice that when the man attempted to get into politics and to become prime minister, the first thing they attacked was the man's house. And where this little black boy from Spanish Town get money build at the house there. I must thief then TV. I wonder if you understand the nuances here. I wonder if you understand the can of worm that the judge opened. I wonder if you understand what is happening to Jamaica and what is happening to the Prime Minister and to Dr. Wheatley and to all of them. And I can tell you this, Dr. Wheatley not thief nobody no money, Dr. Wheatley not thief no money, The judge's statement is not one that we should weaponize. But there is a political lesson. The People's National Party was in power when the court matter was taking place. And that makes this politically uncomfortable for them. Because as I said earlier, they cannot wash their hands of this matter. But the judge was effectively asking Jamaica to examine its own mind. Think about the metaphor. The judge didn't say change the land. He essentially said change the mind. That is profound. Because laws can change quickly. A parliamentary act can pass. A court order. A court can issue an order. A title can be registered. But social assumptions can survive for generations. You can remove legal structure. You can remove the legal structure of colonialism and you retain the class prejudice, the assumptions about who belongs at the top. Look on all this little program here. Politics Matter, Jamaica. The Hello Neighbor Show. All we are suffer, you know, in our country. Because I shouldn't we. And where he come from? Where he come from? Assumptions about who deserves wealth. Assumptions about who should own large properties. That is what mental decolonization means in this context. And Cooper's pen forces Jamaica to ask an uncomfortable question as I go to Scratchy and Harry. Because if the judge was correct in identifying this kind of mindset decades ago, have we actually emancipated ourselves from it? Because today's argument is still remarkably similar. Let's jump over to the analysts and have their say. Let's have their say on this matter. Who do we have up first? Member Harry?
Good night, neighbor. Good night, everybody.
Member, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Saturday evening, member. We have pulled out a statement made by the judge in this Cooper's pen matter, and we played it last night. But the statement actually said the hardship suffered by Mr. Chisholm appeared to result from a view held by public officials and the claimant that because he did not come from a tradition of large landowners, he had no right to own such a large parcel of land, and that the remedy was an emancipation of minds. Remember, Harry, what is the judge saying there?
Well, neighbor, let me break it down a little different, because it falls on what the value of the land mean, or the meaning of the land in this case, right? And I'll use a little of the plantation society theory to explain it.
Yes.
Because in the theory, the land represents wealth, security, independence, inheritance, and two of the most prolific things: political power,
yes,
and social status.
Correct.
Right? Because he who obtains land, or in this case large portions, is now politically independent, who also dictates what they do with their very own lives. So them not depend, in a sense, they depend on a politician, and as such they are self-sufficient.
Yes.
Now, with the plantation society, very few controls access to that, whether it is control the access to the wealth, to the independence, the political power that they can wield, and your very social status in society.
It's a minority who is able to be where you just read there.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Right? And as such, you can know whether you want to manipulate because you control this resource, neighbor, that is so valuable and very few have it. You are almost pretty much the upper echelons of society. And as such, that power which you have through the land, you can help dictate and shape society itself.
Correct.
That is the mindset in the modern day in which was sought to be upheld. Even though we're not on the plantation anymore, the idea and certain characteristics of it was shaped and changed in a manner or clothed in a manner that looks different from what actually happened on the sugar plantation.
Yes.
What we're seeing now, neighbor, is that it's very similar because a specific set of people in that time was able to hold these resources. It is the same act by which the mindset or the idea of it that Maurice Guy and the then People's National Party sought to uphold. Because if they control this valuable land, the very few and anyone who they don't deem as a part of them, a part of this class, the social class, then their next plan is to remove that individual from obtaining such opportunities to be a part of that class because they weren't born in it. They don't have any ancestral rights to it. They aren't, in essence, the groundbreakers, movers, and shakers of society. And that caste itself, neighbor, is almost closed off to a specific few.
Including the Prime Minister right now.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
So,
and Dr. Wheatley.
It is not a system and an ideology.
You can't get in there. You can't get in there, Harry.
You definitely can't.
Yeah, especially if you're black.
Exactly. And the thing about it is that it is hidden behind meritocracy, where it says if you work hard enough, you can get up there and you can know.
Yes.
You walk up on a glass ceiling, in a sense. Right? They give you the illusion, while at the other end, they're the ones who take it away from you because they know that if the ordinary man, even able to get 1 acre, neighbor,
yes,
to do his own thing, they have no witness a man that has been emancipated from their control, from their idea and political maneuvering, right? You've now created a man that is self-sufficient and independent, and as such, they can't control the narrative and how you think.
Yes.
And that, for political gains, does not work. Because if they can't control you, then politically, they are now subjected, in an essence, to you. But if they can hold that over your head, and whether it be illicit ways of getting it, or neighbor, this is the critical part. Weaponizing acts or state resources under false pretense to obtain political aspirations from that individual neighbor instead of obtaining the land. Because in the Cooper's Pen matter still, right? The court has ruled there is no substantial evidence whatsoever in the years they have put it through the court,
yes,
to show that Maurice Guy and the then government of Jamaica had any, and I'm stressing it, any evidence that them attempting to obtain the land from Mr. Chisholm for social development, there's no proof of it.
Not for any social development.
There was no, because there's a few things you can do when it comes on to
yes, like what NROC does when they want it for build roads.
Build roads, housing solutions, utility lines, all of that. None of that was ever put forward. In fact, we saw the then Minister of Housing attempted to go after the case in his very own name.
Not on behalf of the government of Jamaica.
Not on behalf of the government. And plead as if he was never summoned to the court when he was.
And never attended.
Never attended.
Am I not correct then, and then Harry, to say that this Cooper's Pen demolition did not start when the bulldozers arrived on the scene?
No, it didn't. It didn't, neighbor.
Uh-huh.
In fact, it is an issue in which affects the Caribbean neighbor, because of course, you know, we were colonized and so on. And I believe it's George Beckford, if my memory serves me well, speaks to this issue as to what happens because of that colonial structure,
Yes.
that has created these land issues throughout the Caribbean. So it's not innate to Jamaica, right? But because of what is happening with this situation, we have yet to have evidence of another case of this magnitude where the state tries to suppress and utilize the law against the proper lawful ruling of a court. We have yet to have that published anywhere else in the Caribbean. So what we're seeing now in a neighbor is an issue pre-independence, but was magnified after independence, meaning not because we gained independence, the structure changed as it ought to, right? It still was fully much instilled in the very systems that should have changed this for the ordinary man who became now free in essence. So they were free as a people, but tied economically to the land resource, which didn't stay as economic anymore, neighbor, because under plantation society, it was deemed as economic, right? No, it is deemed beyond economics. It is deemed for dependency when it comes out to politically.
Yes.
It is now seen as where you stand overall in a class. It also utilizes and shows who can obtain wealth in the modern ways, because not because you obtain money, you're able to purchase land as you should and hold it as yours for generation. Because what this case is showing us is that you can work hard, you can do all the right things, neighbor, have the land, and for political aspirations from any individual, this is a part of the government, who has poor governance, want to utilize political arrogance to obtain or replace improper government structures, neighbor. Because that is really what happened. The Maurice Guy and the People's National Party at that time, because, and I'm using this word, it's a vibrant settlement, was stated by the judge in his ruling, right? And vibrant here, for those who are listening, no mean party. It means that it can contribute to any political individual or party to bring them over the line when needs be. So in essence, you can create a stronghold if you are seen in the eyes of those people as their savior. And that was an attempt from the then People's National Party, and specifically Maurice Guy, within that period. Because if you are deemed as the savior in a neighbor, then political loyalty falls to them.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Harry. In light of the court's ruling, especially this comment made by the judge, how does it inform or does it give us an understanding of how the PNP managed the country generally, especially during the period of the 90s?
It shows that they create a system that depends on the people's dependency on the political individuals.
Say that again.
So it shows that how they govern, neighbor, they create a system that instills dependency on the political individual. And
to the extent that they were able to do that to a vast majority of people maintaining the status quo, because there are still a few that they weren't able to do that to.
Right, there's still a few, right? But we've seen, and we can extend it, neighbor. In
Uh-huh.
all honesty, I can extend it to what we're seeing in Westmoreland. Maybe not to the case, but to the general idea as to how they operate. The dependency on a political representative or a political party is what has kept specific areas as a stronghold in the western side of Jamaica for the People's National Party.
Could that be extended to the garrisonization of many communities too?
Of many.
Yes.
Right? And if you want to look at it, these settlements fall under illegal settlements or under the number, the high number that we have in Jamaica. It falls well within there. And there's no member of the People's National Party that can dispute that because it's facts. Right? Now, we see that large group, neighbor, because it helps them get over the line politically. In fact, it instills and it goes over generations. So it's almost like they are institutionalizing it, creating a norm when legally, based on the law, it should not be so. And this falls on the hands of improper governance. And this is where, you hear me say it earlier, where political arrogance, political affiliations seek to overrule or take the place of proper governance. So rather than doing what is right for the country and for those people, neighbor, because if you do what is right for them, they're now independent of you. But because you have your political agenda, you have to create that dependency which ensures that they're not emancipated from you. And that is deadly, and it has created an ongoing issue to where we are now in current society. And to tie it back to the Cooper Spence case, to what we're seeing now, because this was the state trying to overrule what the law says and what the court ruling is, and make it even simpler, where a political representative attempted to use political willpower against what is lawful and right to stop an ordinary man from carrying out his lawful duties, because he can do anything with his land within the law. And they attempted for their political agenda, neighbor, that they go ahead and mislead those people, all 99 of them. I don't know if the number increased because the settlement actually expanded after the first ruling, right? And as such, you look at it in this way to say the People's National Party and the government of that time had no proper governance structure. They don't understand. Well, I don't want to say they don't understand what to do. They refuse to do what is right because what is right does not have them wielding that strong political power that they perceive for a very long time.
Fascinating stuff. Let's go to Member Scratchy. Member Scratchy?
Right, night about Caroline, one of the parts of Maribel.
Yeah. Member Scratchy. Hi. Member Scratchy, when the story broke, I must tell you that when it broke, my producer introduced me to it the night and said, look at this story. I must tell you the truth, Scratchy. I never know that this story would have fallen back literally at the feet of the People's National Party. And to see, Scratchy, that the PNP originally tried to spin this story as a blaming on the government, when the more we look at the story and what has happened at Cooper's Pen, it clearly points to a failure of the People's National Party, Scratchy. Why is the PNP such a deceptive group of people, Scratchy? And don't you think that emerging out of this Cooper's Pen story is a look at the way politicians over the years have tried to give people these false impressions and have kept them in the state that they are, Scratchy? Isn't this a disservice to the people over there in Cooper's Pen?
I'm definitely neighbor. Again, good night everyone. Definitely neighbor a disservice neighbor to the people at Cooper's Pen neighbor, because these people neighbor, we're building neighbor, we're living and we're building neighbor. Yes, I know they were misled neighbor by political representative from the People's National Party.
Right.
Yes, neighbor. So these people were just building because people were saying to them that, yeah, man, we're going to make sure to get the land, we're going to do this, we're going to have the land, the world will itself. And then people keep on believing in them neighbor and doing that and not realizing that it is a court to have the final talk in a situation like this. So definitely, neighbor, the People's National Party has done this, neighbor. This is how the People's National Party benefited politically, neighbor, by creating informal settlements, neighbor. If you even look at the timeline, neighbor, of when this matter went before the courts, neighbor. At one point in time, the PNP went into opposition, neighbor, and when they came back in government, they pushed back this matter in the court again. So it goes to show you, neighbor, that this had some political mileage for the People's National Party. Why they have such a vested interest in it, neighbor.
Uh-huh.
They were operating, neighbor, from a political standpoint, neighbor. Because you went into opposition at one point in time, and you came back in government, and as soon as you came back in government, you happened back it again. Back before the court with it again. So it goes to show you, neighbor, that politically the PNP had something to gain, neighbor, from Cooper's pen. And they were trying their best, neighbor, whichever way you're trying to pervert the courts of justice, trying to use sympathy over justice to have the courts, neighbor, overthrow Mr. What's the guy name again? The one
Mr. Chisholm.
Mr. Chisholm, neighbor, and give the land, neighbor, to the people and the PNP government at the time, neighbor. So the PNP, neighbor, played on these people, neighbor, use these people. And I hope they come to realization and understand, neighbor, that the PNP was nothing but a trickery all along.
The quote from the judge, Scratchy, said that that the public officials and the claimant that he did not come from, that Mr. Chisholm did not come from a large landowners and had no right to own such a large parcel of land. The judge is suggesting, Scratchy, that there is a possible prejudice here and that it was never a legal dispute. That this, what the judge is saying, that he did not see the legal merit of the case. And he's wondering why they brought this matter before him. It seems as if they just bad mind the man. What, you don't find that amazing coming from a judge, Scratchy?
Definitely, neighbor. Coming from a judge, neighbor, that statement, neighbor, is definitely something that we have to dig deep into, neighbor, because if you really look at take into consideration, neighbor, what was said, neighbor, it's clear the PNP, neighbor, that plan, you know, they realized, neighbor, that Mr. Chisholm, neighbor, was just someone, neighbor, who didn't come from the right family or the right last name, but you know, a certain level of income, you know. So they were trying their best, neighbor, to exhaust Mr. Chisholm, neighbor. That's what they wanted to do, neighbor. They wanted to exhaust Mr. Chisholm, neighbor, through the judiciary process, neighbor.
My God.
If you notice how long it took, over 30 years or how long, or 19 or 20 years, they were trying to exhaust Mr. Chisholm for Mr. Chisholm to get fed up, neighbor, and just bow into them and give up his property, neighbor. That is what the PNP was trying, neighbor, to do on this common man.
Yeah. The more I look at this, Scratchy, the more I'm trying to link what is happening to Prime Minister Holness, even at this moment, Scratchy. The legal challenges that the Prime Minister is facing, Scratchy, could we read even in a precursory way that maybe, Scratchy, this have nothing really to do with the facts of the Prime Minister's case, but along the lines that this judge is arguing that maybe it is that Holness is just from the wrong class?
Yeah, but definitely, neighbor. One of the biggest hiccups, neighbor, that is in the Prime Minister, one of the biggest obstacles in the Prime Minister way, neighbor, is because, neighbor, where the Prime Minister is coming from, neighbor, is because of the Prime Minister last name, the Prime Minister background, neighbor. Neighbor, Prime Minister Holness, neighbor, they cannot attack him, neighbor, because of his performance, neighbor. They cannot attack him, neighbor, and say the country is not doing good, neighbor. So why there are why is there so much top echelon of society? And that's how collective disease, neighbor. Someone who come from a normal or a humble beginning, as we like to say, neighbor. And the hierarchy, neighbor, the tapanarists, neighbor, the elites, neighbor, they are very afraid of that, neighbor. They don't want to know, neighbor, that someone who's coming from where Mr. Holness is, neighbor, is the one who's at the helm, neighbor, and who's dictating our country, our vision, and the focus of our country, neighbor. It's based upon his own vision, neighbor, and what he sees that to trust, neighbor. They don't want to be ruled or be governed, neighbor, in any country or situation like that. That's why they're trying their utmost best in every single way to try and overthrow him, neighbor. If you look at all of the protests that be going on, neighbor, you look at all the persons who are launch out these protests, neighbor, people who usually have certain high position in a high office in a society, and we usually say, all right, hold them people in high regards, and realize now that them people is against the government that is performing so good. So it goes to show, neighbor, that it's not the government they're against, neighbor. They're against the man, neighbor, and where the man is coming from, neighbor. And the fact, neighbor, he didn't went to the same prep school like them, neighbor. Then didn't see the same high school as them, neighbor. Someone who didn't attend what we call the most fashionable and the most popular high school in Jamaica, but still managed to rise, neighbor, to one of the highest offices of the land. So the elitists them don't want to see that, neighbor. And it's so bad, neighbor, that we have an opposition leader, neighbor, who is representing that cohort of elitism, neighbor, and he's definitely, neighbor, pushing that agenda. And that's why I always say that he is solely responsible for divisive and attacking our politics is right now, neighbor. Because something like what is going on down in Cooper's Bend, we should all come and split justice, neighbor, and try to be sympathetic with the people at the same time. But instead, we are playing tit for tat and politics because, as I said, the People's National Party, neighbor, don't have any policy. They don't have any program, neighbor. The only thing that can benefit the People's National Party, neighbor, is by politicizing things, neighbor. It's only when politics talk about PNP is relevant, neighbor. Once we continue to talk about policies and talking about programs, neighbor, we're with them irrelevant. They try to politicize everything because that is the only way they are relevant, neighbor. Because them base and them supporters, neighbor, cannot understand nothing else but politics.
Tell me then, Scratchy, where is the politics of this matter even as we speak? Now that it is coming out that the PNP's hands are not clean in this matter, how do you position this Cooper's Bend matter politically?
Well, neighbor, politically, the first thing that we have to look at, neighbor, that current member of parliament, neighbor, is on the ruling governing side, neighbor. So I have to understand, neighbor, that this is a constituency that member of parliament didn't win by in great majority. It's a constituency, neighbor, that often vote in favor of the government, neighbor. So whatever response is coming from the government is not coming from a political standpoint. It's coming directly, neighbor, from what the government can and cannot do. And one of the main reasons that the Prime Minister alluded to it, neighbor, that a lot of persons are saying that the Prime Minister don't go down there and no, the Prime Minister don't make an official statement. Yeah, he said something about it. But in the real context, neighbor, this Cooper's Bend issue, neighbor, is a very complex issue, neighbor.
Tell about the complexity of it.
And when I talk about the complexity, neighbor, there's a whole lot of allegations, neighbor. There's a whole lot of things that surround this land, neighbor, in terms of the real actual ownership of this land, neighbor, in terms of how persons who own the land acquire the land, neighbor, in terms of the ownership of the land. So there's a whole complex, there's a lot of complexity in regards to this Cooper's Bend thing, neighbor. There's a lot of things that is not presented out here where persons can get a full understanding of what is what. So I think there's a lot to it, neighbor. So the Prime Minister, neighbor, before the Prime Minister can go down to Cooper's Bend, neighbor, unlike the opposition leader, whenever the Prime Minister visits Cooper's Bend, neighbor, the Prime Minister will be visiting.
Do you think that the opposition leader visit was kind of a cover-up of what he knew was bound to come out?
I mean, neighbor, I think, neighbor, the main reason why I think why the opposition leader visited Cooper's Bend, neighbor, the opposition neighbor has no executive power. The opposition leader has nothing where we can do, neighbor, to help these people. And I believe, neighbor, that the main reason why the opposition leader went down there, neighbor, to gather the media attention, neighbor, was to clear his own interest, neighbor.
Oh?
I know you might be saying what interest is that, neighbor.
Yes.
But when I say interest, neighbor, if you notice, there was an argument, an allegation being alluded out there that a company that the opposition leader have interest in. What was the owner? There's an allegation of that out there, neighbor. The opposition clear it up, I know. But there was an allegation of that out there, neighbor. I know that company, neighbor, is a company, neighbor, that is run by investors, neighbor. So you know, I thought he saw it fit, neighbor, to went down there to clear that allegations, neighbor, so that he could relax some investors, neighbor, calm the ear, neighbor, in regards as to the ownership of that property, neighbor. So that is what I think about the opposition leader main objective, neighbor. To go down there to get the media attention, neighbor, and to say to the people down there who are very angry, neighbor, in them face right there on camera, neighbor, that he has no interest in the land, neighbor.
Mark Golding. All right. I noticed, Scratchy, that the opposition leader, while he was there, used the opportunity to reintroduce Dennis Meadows as the chairman of the constituency. Now, Meadows Scratchy made some comments on the political trail last election that had him removed as the caretaker, as the representative for representing the PNP on that occasion. Comments about chopping, and I note that Isaac Buchanan have made some similar comments, but Isaac Buchanan was not removed. What is the difference, if there are any, between what Meadows said and what Isaac said? And do you think that Buchanan should also remove? The Labour Party has asked for his resignation.
Definitely, neighbor. I mean, being someone, neighbor, again, neighbor, you don't have to be you don't have to be a part of the executive, neighbor. But just the main fact, neighbor, that you are part of the parliament, neighbor, that is also very significant. That is not something, neighbor, that many Jamaicans just get the opportunity, neighbor. They care what higher level of education them seek, neighbor, to hold that office, neighbor. It is something that we should treat it very sacred. It is an office, neighbor, that we should always hold with the utmost of respect. It is an office, neighbor, that we should look to see as example and leaders who we want our kids to be like, neighbor. So to hear that coming from someone, neighbor, like Isaac Buchanan, neighbor, who's also an attorney, neighbor, to hear those type of things coming out of his mouth, neighbor, you know, it is just so sad, neighbor, to know, neighbor, that persons read at the cards are more social issue, neighbor, bigger social issue. You know, that are trying to secure, neighbor, themselves with some time a relevant, neighbor, that they believe, neighbor, a small minority of the country who's in support of them, neighbor, might support whatever they are saying, neighbor. And that is just so shocking, neighbor. And I definitely think, neighbor, there's no difference between from it, neighbor. And that is how hypocrite the PNP is, neighbor. They slap Mr. Meadows and they reprimanded Mr. Meadows, neighbor, for his statement, neighbor. Again, I think, neighbor, they did that in the height, neighbor, because it was coming to an election. No election is around the corner now. So Mr. Isaac Buchanan, neighbor, can continue to spew whatever he wants to talk, neighbor, and continue to push his agenda, neighbor. But again, the People's National Party, neighbor, led by Mark Goldie, neighbor, is just, neighbor, an organization, neighbor, where anything that is done and any form of leadership action is needed, neighbor. Don't hold a breath with, neighbor. We're not going to see Mark Goldie take any form of leadership. Mark Goldie is a leader, neighbor, who, despite him being the leader of the People's National Party and the opposition leader, neighbor, he's not safe in his position as leader of the opposition, neighbor. He's very uncomfortable, neighbor. He can't take actions or reprimand anyone, neighbor, because he needs everyone's support, neighbor, going forward. Because he's very cautious and wondering, neighbor, if he will be contested, neighbor, come 2027, neighbor, at the leadership at a leadership race. So he is not comfortable, neighbor. So he can't make any decision that we would like to see coming from someone who we see as a leader, neighbor. And I was listening to a conference, a meeting the other day, neighbor, and Damien Crawford have a statement, neighbor, where he like to say, he can't understand how a poor man is a labor right, you know? And Mark Goldie was there standing behind him. So I will say to Damien, neighbor, that if you can't understand how a poor man become labor right, it is clear you can't understand how a rich man become PNP as well. So I think, neighbor, that Damien continue to throw shots at Mark Goldie. And also some subliminal shots at him, neighbor. I was listening to them the other day, neighbor, at a meeting. And Damien Crawford was there, neighbor, talking about how things is not fair, neighbor, and how the rich, neighbor, benefit from this and talk about classism and that type of thing. And you know, to know someone, neighbor, behind him, neighbor, who hold a very high office, neighbor, and the classes in poor, neighbor, and the top of our score, neighbor, I think he's eating out on him in some form of way, you know? And he's not realizing, he's not sitting there not realizing that everything that Damien is saying on the stage connect to you. You're a wealthy person, you know? You're someone who glorifies the top of our system, the classism. So again, neighbor, Mark Goldie, neighbor, pigment of, I don't know, that's definitely the worst leader of the People's National Party I've seen, neighbor. Not because he won more seat, neighbor, than Peter Phillips in the last general election, neighbor. That doesn't mean he's a better leader, neighbor. Leadership don't matter how many seats you win, neighbor. Leadership matters, neighbor, whenever matters arise, neighbor, the type of action that you take. And Mark Goldie has failed to take any form of action, neighbor. Any form. We don't want the things that are happening in the PNP, neighbor, that require some form of action.
When the story broke last week, earlier this week, Scratchy, the dignity, the human dignity part of the story touched a lot of Jamaicans' nerves. Do you think that the story, the Cooper's Pen story, damaged the perception of the government?
I believe, neighbor, that the person's neighbor, I'm not condoning any form of squatting, neighbor. I am not condoning any form of squatting. Persons must leave, persons must not squat on people and neighbor. But I believe, neighbor, this is my personal belief, neighbor. I believe that based on how large that informal settlement neighbor was, neighbor, or I think it was above neighbor and beyond neighbor. The ability neighbor of the owner to get those persons neighbor off the land neighbor. I think that required neighbor some form of government help or more government assistance neighbor to get those persons off the land. Not just from the police standpoint, I think it requires some form of discussion and stuff like that. Because neighbor, the moment you took the approach that you were about to take, you know that you were going to create some form of humanitarian crisis, neighbor. And whenever a humanitarian crisis arises, neighbor, it is utmost on the government to respond. The government has to respond. So what you would know, you create an extra burden in your attempt to get your property and everything. You create an extra burden on us and taxpayers as well. That could have been avoided if you had seek dialogue with the member of parliament.
But then the government is suggesting that it had nothing to do, and rightly so, Scratchy, separation of powers. The government cannot intervene in a court order. If the court orders the removal of people from a land, what could the government do?
No, I'm not saying the government should intervene. I'm not saying the government should intervene, neighbor. I would say, neighbor, that in my conscience, neighbor, I know, neighbor, that there's no way I could lick down 99 house or 100 house, neighbor, without creating a humanitarian crisis on the government, neighbor.
Okay, you mean the owners?
The owners, yes.
Uh-huh.
I'm not talking the government, I'm talking the owners.
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
The government has nothing to do with it.
Asking YouTube, could you please like and subscribe? X, please repost, and Facebook, please share. TikTok, could you please tap share, repost, and send a heart needs, please?
And neighbor, to be fair to the owner, because I'm going to split justice. To be fair to the owner, neighbor, past government, neighbor, the owner went to them to seek assistance, neighbor, to get these people off his property, neighbor. Even in the court judgment, I believe it said, neighbor, that nothing was done. He had this complaint filed and deaf ears, neighbor. And what the government did, neighbor, in them attempt while this man was seeking them to get the people off his property, the government tried to charge a land, a coup on him and tried to take away his land. So in a situation like this, I don't know, neighbor, they might be afraid, neighbor. I said to themselves, no, we're not going to approach the government again this time. We're going to go by the court order.
In other words, because the member of parliament was suggesting that she wasn't even aware.
Yes, that might be why the owner decided that, neighbor, because there was a previous government thing before, neighbor, who didn't handle the situation very well.
Yeah.
So the owner might be thinking that this government now might want to try the same thing on him.
Yes.
So he decided that he was just going to take action.
Yes. Well.
So you have to look at it both ways. But I'm saying, in good faith, neighbor, I understand, neighbor, that I could not nick down 99 houses with a bulldozer, neighbor, and I don't create a humanitarian crisis. I know that something.
Once you have a humanitarian crisis, governments are going to have to respond, and governments will be blamed for the conditions on the ground.
Neighbor, you need government now to respond to a humanitarian crisis. You leave extra burden on the taxpayers now as well. So this goes to show, neighbor, that this goes to show to government as well, neighbor, that if we don't create a serious plan for squatting, it is always going to create a humanitarian crisis on government. And yet the Prime Minister said that he has a plan, neighbor, that is coming, neighbor, for these squatting areas, neighbor. And what I would imply, neighbor, especially from the Jamaica Labour Party side, I would imply all of these members of parliament, neighbor, with the help of government agency, neighbor, find out the informal settlement in your community, find out in the constituencies, find out the big yard, them, the 40 and 50 persons living there, and none of them own a title for the yard, and one man live in Canada, one man live in America, or somebody own the land. And based on the rapid development, neighbor, that Jamaica is on the neighbor, sorry for the part of the court to deal with land issue, neighbor. You're going to be land cases in the courts of Jamaica like crazy. Neighbor, Jamaica is developing at a rapid pace. The people are come back for them land. Persons are coming back for them land at rapid paces, neighbor. Neighbor, think a joke. People want about them property, neighbor. Neighbor, the country grew up. The people them see what is going on, neighbor. People are come back for them property.
Yes.
People left some land for 30, 40 years, them a come back, neighbor. It never have no value them time, neighbor, it have value now, because guess what? Government run highway through your community now. Give property value. Government through build urban center over there, so now. Give community value. Government build housing scheme cross one over there, so now. Give land value. So everybody come back for them land.
Yes. Yeah. No, Scratchy. In terms of the story, the light that has been shed on the story, do you think that Jamaicans are now better understanding this issue, and the discussion can shift to what it is that we will do about squatting and the PNP's own role in this situation? Do you think that the discussions will remain partisan, or do you think that light has been shed on it?
I want to with Jamaica and the neighbor. Neighbor, we are throwing lemon or lime, we make lemonade, and I think in a situation like this, neighbor, we have a chance, neighbor, where we can make lemonade, neighbor. And I think, neighbor, that despite neighbor, whatever, neighbor, I think a chance, an opportunity exclude is now available, neighbor, for us to have a serious discussion going forward, neighbor. And the whole issue of squatting, neighbor, not just to remove the whole politics out of it, neighbor, and see how best, neighbor, we can see it, because, neighbor, a lot of the government, neighbor, in situation like this, neighbor, the government also has to be very careful and very skeptic, neighbor, when we take this approach, neighbor. There are so many squatters, neighbor, squatting communities in Jamaica, neighbor, that the government has to be very careful. The Prime Minister said they don't want to set a certain precedent, neighbor.
Because all of them cannot be bulldozed at all. That would be
exactly
the
neighbor.
worst.
And again, neighbor,
Worse than Melissa.
A lot of PNPs talking about government didn't take to Privy Council and stuff like that, neighbor. The government has to be careful, neighbor, the message that it is sending to private investors, neighbor, who want assets in our country, neighbor.
I get you.
The government, neighbor, if the government is try to use brute force or strong-handed, neighbor, it will send a negative message, neighbor, to persons who are coming in to invest, neighbor, in our country. Persons are going to believe, neighbor, that person can just come take over land and the government will just lead the day, just fling me away.
I get you.
The government have to strike a balance, neighbor. And at the same time, the Prime Minister said we have to talk firm. It has to be one voice going forward. It can't say squatting is okay right here, so but squatting is not okay right here, so.
Yes.
I think the opportunity has to come, neighbor, for government, private sector, and civil society, everybody to come together and let us fix squatting, neighbor. Fix squatting once and for all. There's a lot of communities, neighbor, where we think that it is a community and it is not a community, neighbor. It is informal. They don't come with proper sewage, neighbor. They don't come with proper potable water. They don't have proper electricity. They don't have none of these things. And oftentimes, neighbor, these communities are where crime is most infested.
Fantastic. We have two callers online. Let's see if we can hear what the contribution they have to make. Braga Daga. Hi.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Good night to you.
Yeah, man. I'm listening to Brethren and everything what he say. I totally agree with what he's saying.
Yes.
He raised some good, very, 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 very good points. Neighbor, question. If the owner, if the police did not go in at the time that they went in and removed those incoming, and the police and the owner and had gone there to carry out the order, you think we would be having this discussion?
No, I don't get you. It was a bailiff that executed the court's order.
Okay.
So, and I think the bailiff sought the assistance, rightly so, of the police.
Right.
So, and not to cut here, the helicopters that you're talking about, the police said that was a different operation, I believe, neighbor.
Okay. Yes, sir.
What I am saying, if it hadn't gone the way it went, do you think we would have been having this discussion?
If it hadn't gone which way?
When the police went in, removed the men, and the demolition took place.
Okay, so you are saying two different things there now, you know. The police removed men before
Yes.
before the demolition.
Right.
Where you get that?
That's what I heard on the news, that the police went in and took out the men them first.
No, sir. The
Before
police
the-
didn't took out the men. There were men that were arrested, that were
Okay.
detained. Hold on, were detained, but
Okay.
that is a separate matter, you know, because the detention of men, the police will have to have some reason to detain them.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And if they don't have no reason, those men have to be let go. The police can't just detain people like that. So I don't know what reasons the police had
Why?
to detain
Okay.
them. They probably were encumbering the execution of the court's order.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was learning to still, because if that exercise took place, then it would cause a confrontation with the police.
Yes.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And probably there was resistance. And
Right.
and if you resist the police, then the police will arrest you.
So we wouldn't be having this discussion then, because probably gunshot would have fired.
Fire from who? Fire from where?
The police from what side?
No, man, but hold on, no, sir. But are you suggesting that the men at Cooper's Pen are gunmen?
No, neighbor. What I'm saying is, see, the police did an operation because they would have perceived that they would have had a confrontation with whoever was there, with the men who was there. Obviously, they would have put up a resistance. So they and the police would have a confrontation. We don't know how that confrontation would have ended. Therefore, we would have been having a different discussion now.
I must tell you, I'm not following. Scratchy.
Well, brother, I don't think we would have a different conversation, because what was attempted from the news release is an attempt to conflate both activity.
Yeah, sorry, let's not twin them.
Yeah, right. It is just a coincidence in that time frame, because understanding the ruling has been made from the court twice, and whatever private citizen, in this case Mr. Chisholm, decided to carry out the lawful actions by the court with bailiffs, which are ordered by the court, that is their function to carry it out. They were doing their job. Whatever operations now from the police standpoint to do something totally different, it is just a mere coincidence that it may have overlapped. So it has nothing to do, they don't have anything to do with each other, to be honest.
Right.
But you will have people trying to do
the
that.
police operation had nothing to do with the demolition.
Nothing. They're two totally different. In fact,
okay. Understand.
right, because one is, look at it this way. One is of a security issue. The other is more in terms of a ruling made from the court for a citizen to act and do with what he wants within the law of the land that he owns.
Right.
But
I understand. I believe I thought the two operation was one.
No, they aren't.
Okay. I apologize. I didn't know that.
Come on, that's fine.
But another question. The opposition leader went down there with Mr. Buchanan after the remarks that he made. Did they carry anything to assist the people that were left stranded? I don't see anything about that. Like, I never see them issue no humanitarian aid or assistance in any tangible way.
They brought words of encouragement, and I leave it there.
I didn't get that from what they were saying, but I understand. Not even a bucket of water.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, okay, neighbor.
Okay. We have connecting the dot. He's gone. Lifestyle politics. You're on.
Good night, good night, good night.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm sending blessings over to YouTube, also to those on TikTok, those on Instagram, and on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us nightly, and we do appreciate all the love and the commitment to this program.
Uh-huh.
So
Lifestyle?
Yes,
not
yes.
not Instagram, but X.
Oh, yes. X. Thank you. I am old and set in my old ways. All right. So, chiming in a little bit on this Cooper's pen issue,
Yes.
I lay the blame solely at the feet of the PNP. And I believe that this thing was deliberately done to these people, knowing that this day would have come. I do not believe that any of the attempts to go to the court were genuine and real, especially because it was all done with government tax-paying dollars. Our money is what they used to be carrying out their political agenda. Because all they wanted was to keep these people voting for them. As a result of that, every time they were in power, they went to the court to demonstrate to the people, just to put on a show, so the people would say, yes, they are doing something for us. See them there, they are going to court. But they were going to court knowing that this is not a case they can win. They knew this. When they lost the case, they were not communicating this to the people and saying, hey, we will have to find another way because this way is not working out. If they said this to the people, the people would have either asked for another option or they would just move away. They didn't want that. They wanted them to stay there within that same constituency and keep them in power. Now, when Tova won in 2020, they saw that as a one-time thing. And so they continued to fool the people. And please be reminded, those people did not vote for Tova because they would have still been voting to ensure that they stayed on the land. Because that's the trade. You vote, I fight for you to stay on the land. Only that the people don't know that it is not a real fight on the side of the politicians, because the politicians know that they cannot take the man's land. They know this. So, October 1, 2020, the 5 years went, and they said to the people again, when we win this time, we are definitely going to do what we have to do for you. The people went again, and they gave their vote to the PNP. Like always, nothing new, because they had this land issue to use as leverage to get their voters out. They got them out again, but Tova won again. Here is what I believe now. I believe, seeing that they lost twice, they said to themselves, well, we cannot say to the people again that, stay here, do this, and vote for us. We are certain to win. Remember, it's 2 times now that they have lost after telling the people they would win and sort things out. No. So I take it that the owner would probably bring this back up to them, and they would say a better thing, and something that will give them more leverage, because remember the votes were not enough the last time. So now, if you allow the owner to go ahead and just do the demolition and all that, that might give them some more leverage, because this is going to be blamed on the government. And I believe they allowed it for this reason. I believe they allowed it for this reason. But they do not count on people doing research, because PNP is still stuck in an era where they control the narrative, and they don't understand that other people know things, other people can research, and then it will come back to them. So they were hoping just do this, everybody would run out, blame the government, they would get leverage, and of course the people would be upset. It would cause an outrage, and the people will be against over, and this will carry them into the next election.
They want to win that. They want to win that seat.
No real care. Pardon?
They want to win that seat.
Yes, they have always been winning that seat. They have never won without that seat. They have never won without that seat. And so to go into an election where they are going to win that election, that seat has to be a part of it.
Want it in the PNP column.
It needs to be in the PNP column.
Yes, ma'am. I'll put it in the PNP column. No, whatever we need to do to get it in our column, we have to do it. I tell you.
Right. And they saw that just waving the land issue over the people's head was not doing it, because the people they did that 2 elections and still won and still lost. So this time around they're like, whatever happens to you guys, we don't care. We just want the people to be disgruntled, the government to get blamed, and let us see if that puts us back in power.
Yes, ma'am.
They don't care about anything but power.
Got you.
Power, and more power, and that is all the PNP care about.
There is a caller on there is a caller on YouTube asking who sent the police. Who sent the police? Caller, sir, comment who sent the police. I think you know how the police got there, caller. I don't think you are. I think you are being provocative by asking that question. So you shouldn't try to create mischief, man. You know how the police got there. The bailiff sought the assistance of the police in carrying out the court's order. That's how the police got there, which the bailiff is entitled to do and should do. All right, so that's a kind of a silly question. Who sent the police? Police are not sent. The assistance of the police was sought through the superintendent, who would have dispatched some police officers there. All right. Hold on there for me, wife style. Lionel Willie.
Neighbor. Before you go to Lionel, the next person would be Marv, but just want to inform the listeners here that Wifestyle is one of our moderators on YouTube. So please show her some love.
Fantastic. Great lifestyle. Okay, so Marv, go ahead. Marv, M-A-R-V.
Yes, are you hearing me?
I am hearing you loud and clear. Good afternoon. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
As a matter of fact, it's good night.
I just wanted to touch base. I've been following the situation in Cooper's, not only as a Jamaican, but as a Jamaican who has investments in Jamaica of large property, somewhat resembling in what's in question here.
Okay, you are not, and you're a Jamaican, sir. You're a Jamaican, eh?
Yes, I'm a Jamaican.
And you're not a Tapanaris?
No.
Careful, careful.
Always, no, but
yes.
But the thing about this, there has been so many conversations and talks. Everywhere you go, you're hearing people talking about these victims. I don't want to categorize them as victims. I'll call them the squatters. But where are the safeguards for investors? Because that's what I'm listening for. Because
Scratchy made that point earlier.
Oh, well, okay, good. Because that's what I've been listening for. Because we have to be careful the message that we're sending to investors. If we're fostering a home for people to invest in Jamaica,
true, sir,
and people are going to squat on these lands, and then government is going to find ways or give them way to bail out, then as an investor, we're not going to feel
true, sir,
comfortable.
Did you know? I beg your pardon, sir. Did you know that although Singapore is such a small country, Singapore is attracting more investments than major first world countries in the world around the world, sir?
Yes.
You know why? Because investors feel confident that when they invest their money in this country, their investments are secured. Let me tell you something, sir. I was shocked when I was coming from Kingston the other day, and when I came up to the toll booth, the toll increased. And I had to pay the increase, although I wasn't prepared for it. I had to find 2 little silver in my car somewhere there and pay it. and I said to myself, sir, that's not a story to touch. That this toll, the contract that is signed said the toll will go up every year. That is the investor who put in money in Jamaica to make the road. Say, in toll money must go up every year. And sir, the government
and his investment was protected, right?
The government better put it up.
There you go.
Because it's a non-negotiable. You could have argue here, come argue there. The toll man no business with that.
Match the current rate of the US dollar.
Right. The toll man no business with that. What he's interested in is the security of his investment. And you are raising a profoundly important point. And that is why, sir, there was a lady by the name of Phoenix who came on this program the other night, and she tell us quite plainly, said, we're not ready,
I mean, I could say that too.
She said, we are leading with empathy. We're not leading with law. You can't lead with empathy, sir. It is the same. Did you know, sir? Did you know that the toll people, the miles of toll road, that the toll operators have to run barbed wire right along it to prevent animals from coming on the road? And do you know that Jamaicans, sir, take up the barbed wire.
Wow.
Thief the barbed wire from the toll people on the road.
Well, I'm not surprised, because we seems to, and especially from the other side, they promote a lot of lawless behavior.
They're not that are the problem, sir, and that is why I'm telling you.
That's the country that they're promoting, and that's why I think Jamaica is so blessed and lucky that they have a leader in Andrew Holness at the helm.
But I'd love you to explore some more, though, the concerns you have as an investor listening to this story, because you have touching something that is important that I think requires some discussion. You are saying that you as an investor, you are not really listening for boy, the humanitarian part so much. Not that you are not empathetic, but you are talking about, can I invest in a country that treats investments like this?
Yes, correct. And quite frankly, there's a political component to this part, because I must say that I am not in agreement with those tents on that same property. Those tents should have been somewhere else.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yes. Because if you talk about eviction, then why are the people still on the property?
There you go. That's why I said even the government right now, they have to be careful of how they treat this situation.
But sir, there is not the political maturity in Jamaica, and it is a very partisan. You know, sir, the way how we practice politics in Jamaica, and I have my doubts. I am an old man now, and I tell you the truth, sir. I believe in wholeness. I believe his government is taking Jamaica beyond where I think it ought to be.
I think so too.
But I'm going to tell you the truth, sir. I have my doubts under the present political, the way we practice the politics, that we are going to go far. Yeah, tell you the truth.
It's the same. But neighbor, in order for Jamaica, wholeness can do but so much.
Right?
I can see the infrastructure and the systems that are being put in that is being put in place. And I can tell you that Jamaica is poised, based on those two things I've just mentioned, to be a first world country. What is holding us back is Jamaicans and Jamaicans' mindset. How are we
going to change that, sir? Are you on TikTok? You're on TikTok, eh?
Yes.
Do you listen to the garbage, the misinformation coming out?
I'm all for freedom of speech, but I think a lot of these people should be censored.
Oh God. Well, there you go, sir.
We cannot have misinformation just spreading our airwaves and our social media space like what we have now, because there are a lot of people in Jamaica that are listening and looking for these kinds of information, and once they hear someone, especially someone who they think knows what they're talking about, they're going to take it as gospel.
Yes.
And we see that very often. I receive a call from a gentleman that I have at my place, one of my place down there, that is caretaking.
Yes.
And he said to me, see what Andrew do to the place. So I said, what is he doing? He said, listen, a man can't, if me down my yard, me can't, if me plant nothing, me have to go register rather. And I said, but that's not the case. That is not true. Who are telling you these things? They are not getting these things from an official, from anywhere official. They are getting it from someone spreading the propaganda on the other side. And so that's why I agree with you when you say, like, these people, that they really need to be censored. Some laws or something needs to be in place to protect the truth.
When you look, sir, at countries that have done well over the last 30 or 40 years, Singapore being a prime example, you could not be in Singapore spreading false misinformation.
No.
As embargoed as Cuba is, sir. I spoke to someone from Cuba today. He's a Jamaican, and I asked if I could get an interview, and the person tell me, I cannot give you an interview because if the Cuban government ever knows me out here or talk them something about the country, they will arrest me. Now, that you may say that is a little draconian, sir. But guess what? If you are going to preserve your country, sir, you have to shut up some people.
Listen, I think in achieving our goal, especially in the short term, I think some strict measures has to be put in place, and that will ruffle a lot of people's feathers, but I think it's necessary in order to get over this hump.
Yeah. Did you know, sir, that it was the states of emergency or the state of emergencies which the PNP took the government to court, and the court ruled it unconstitutional. But it was the very states of emergencies that the government used to bring the crime. Then tell me something now, sir. We talk about law. Yeah, what is law when people's lives are being snuggled out? Huh? Wouldn't you give up your right and stand on your yard, sir, to spare your life?
Of course. But neighbor, if you look at what is taking place in Jamaica now, right? Since the reduction in crime, I'm living in the States. I've been living here for almost 30 years, and most people from home that you talk to now are ready and willing to go back home at some point. This was not the case 2 years ago.
They want to come back home?
Yes, sir.
What about you?
Listen, I am of that mindset also, but I have kids and I have to see them too. So, I'll settle with just going back and forth. I'm in Jamaica like 3-4 times for the year. When my kids get older, my daughter is 11. When she gets to college and out, then, I think I'll transition. But in the meantime, in the interim, I have projects that I'm working on there. So I will be there for a good portion, of the year. For the short-term future.
Let me hear a comment from you, sir, on the judge's comments that the matter with Mr. Chisholm seemed not to be about law, but about prejudice. In other words, the judge seemed to be introducing the whole matter of classism, a prejudicial case against Mr. Chisholm because he wasn't part of the aristocracy.
Yeah, but that is not new to Jamaica. I mean, in the US and other parts, you have racism, and I tell people all the time, we don't necessarily have racism. We have classism, we have prejudice, those things are similar if you really look at it, and that's where that is coming from because of his stature, he didn't fit the status quo, so they think that this little man, he didn't come from a big family. He shouldn't be allowed, or he shouldn't be able to afford this kind of property, and that is just coming from a place of you want to say the red eye or bad mind mentality. That's a part of our culture that we don't even address, but that is much a part of our culture, and it is something that needs to be addressed because you see Jamaica and there's a segment of Jamaica that sees a person who is successful as the enemy, right? And we have to get out of that mindset. We have to get out of that mindset. Everyone has the ability to work and achieve and dream big, and that's
a true meaning of independence, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do you think, sir, that what is presently happening to the Prime Minister in particular, I am concerned that his case that has been going on now for more than 5 years, maybe there's a slight resemblance here, sir. Is the Prime Minister being prosecuted unfairly, you think?
I think so. I definitely think so because wasn't there an independent didn't they bring in some independent auditor and still they weren't able to find anything?
Yeah, sir, this is a fascinating country. It was reported by Nationwide, you see, that the FID wrote to the Integrity Commission to say they have nothing to investigate the Prime Minister on. They couldn't open a case on him. And sir, that dropped flat in Jamaica.
Yeah.
A major news organization reported that the FID wrote to the Integrity Commission and that did not even make headlines in Jamaica.
Headline news. Yeah,
fascinating.
It's a clear bias. It's a clear bias, and I like the fact that I just want them to. Well, they're getting better with the communication part of it because that was a big issue for them. But I like the fact that he kept on pushing. He did not allow this distraction to get in his way of the goal that he has for Jamaica, and that's one of the reasons why I support him. It's a clear bias that is taking place, and we see it happening with another member of the JLP, and it seems like the PNP has access to all these information of who who are being investigated.
Look at what happened to Daryl Vass. Huh? You know the Daryl Vass story.
Yes, that is. I don't think that's a Jamaica that.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's not a Jamaica that we that's gonna take us to the next level.
And the former ambassador for the United States said that
Yes.
a dossier provided to him by the PNP administration that the FBI investigated it and found nothing.
Yeah. And found nothing.
And yet Mr. Vaz lost his visa, sir.
Yes.
So when you look at that case, and when you look at this Cooper Spence case and what the judge is saying here, with the PNP is an organization that we need a commission of inquiry into them,
Yeah, man.
into their operation.
But they don't mean Jamaica any good. They don't mean Jamaica any good. Yeah.
No, sir.
Yeah, man. Them don't mean Jamaica any good, man. We have to move past it, and we have to keep educating the people. Because they're out there in their numbers spreading the misinformation, and like I said, programs like this is very necessary because we need to educate the people.
But sir, with all seriousness, this is the worst I have seen it, and I've been around from the 70s. I mean, the 70s we had the ideological shifts and all of that. It was more, which direction Jamaica ought to go. But sir, I don't know if it's social media or what.
Social media. That's what I was alluding to. It's a new era, it's a digital era. So a lot of things that the average person did not know or wasn't able to even get any information at all on it. It's right at our fingertips now. So a lot of things are being exposed, and a lot of people are being exposed. We saw that in the voice note that leaked from the PNP WhatsApp group. But that's just a telltale sign of how they operate and how they plan to operate. So if that doesn't tell us something, then I don't know what else to do.
Fascinating stuff. I want you to repeat what you came up here and said, so that as an investor you are concerned as to how this story is being carried out. Repeat that for me.
Yes, yes. I'm concerned because I want because the law is in place. Squatting is illegal, right? And if I'm investing in Jamaica, what safeguards are there? Or what guarantee do I have to be comfortable that the law will be carried out? Because what we're talking about here is illegality, right? Squatting is illegal, but what we're promoting now is lawlessness, right? So I purchase a piece of property. I am paying taxes on my property. People decide to squat on my property, and politicians are going to try to make way for those people
and to use the court to keep the people on it.
Yes. So look at it. So how much money? Because when you purchase these properties, you have plans. We don't know what this owner, the owner plans were. How much money, how much income did he lose over a period of time with these litigation through the court system, and who is repaying him for all of this?
Yes, sir. But remember that the court had ordered that each of them on the land pay him $50,000.
No one did.
And but I tell you, look at that.
Back to my question. Where are the safeguards for the investors?
I think that's a question that the government should take a note of, and the people of Jamaica better listen. Jamaicans, you hear that? Where are the safeguards? And that is how investors think. People who are covering the story and are listening to it coming out of Jamaica. You think their business about humanitarian and all of that? Their investment, that's the point I was making earlier with the toll issue. You could have balled blood. The toll operator want him increase. He invested his money, and those people all around the world, them need them returns. Them no business with you.
One of the first lessons I'm gonna go, Neva, but one of the first lessons I learned here doing my first investment course in real estate, and the instructor was, one of the first rule is to take your emotions out of a deal.
Wow.
Right? Not to say that I'm not empathetic or sympathetic to these people, but the law is the law. I heard a gentleman on TV saying that me a born Jamaican. I'm quoting here.
Imano squatter.
Right. So do you think, even if, because some are saying, oh, we needed more time, do you think if that gentleman had more time, he would have moved?
No, because he was a squatter in our own country.
There you go.
How he can squat? So you see that mindset, sir, and there was nobody to correct him.
That's my point. That is where I'm trying to get. And guess what? That gentleman, he's gonna move and go squat somewhere else because he's not a squatter in our own country.
That is so why I tell you.
I rest my case. Good night.
Fascinating. Very good, sir. Very good. Before you leave, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
1 minute. What do you think about Mr. Buchanan, sir? Encouraging chopping.
So if we're gonna strike a balance, right? He should have been immediately removed. Wasn't the gentleman same place in Trelawney removed last year?
Dennis Meadows.
Never.
Meadows.
And I mean never.
Dennis Meadows.
Yeah. And this man is an attorney at law, right? And this is the kind of message that he's sending to Jamaicans.
Isn't this part of what would concern you as an investor too, sir? That the parliament and the parliamentarians are of such poor quality?
Yes, 100%. 100%. And that's why I said before, Jamaica is lucky to have an administration like the Andrew Holness-led administration at the helm of the Jamaica.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. We'll talk. Good luck.
Excellent. You hear that, guys? This is from us, an investor, a man who says he has investment in Jamaica. He says, what I have learned is you take your emotions out of the matter. You can't do business with emotions. Okay? And what are they listening for? Will the law be upheld? Yeah? As I have said to you, there are two issues here. The dignity of the individuals and the landowners' rights. Okay? The landowners' rights. Now, listen to this man here, as he speaks about of
giving people say watch out. So forget a notice for 1 month or 2 weeks. As squatters live on the land or whatever news them are run with, say we are what? They should notify us.
Rajake says his 3-bedroom house was home to his family and represented an investment of about $1.5 million. Now he has no home, no bed to sleep in, and no idea where his family will spend the night. And he takes particular issue with being labeled a squatter.
As a citizen, I'm a national, I'm a native. Me no run away for nowhere come here. A Jamaica me born and grow. Me are no squatters, me can't be squatters in a Jamaica. No boy can't tell me say me are squatters in my country. Me born and grow here.
For another resident, the demolition.
You hear that? Me are no squatter. You can't be squatter in my own country. That is the thinking. And that young man, he has a right. He does have rights. Anyway, I tell you, Lionel Willie, good night. Willie? No. Young? Evangelist Young?
My mic was off. Good night, everyone.
Good night to you, Evangelist. Hi.
Hi, it's been a while. Yes. I tell you, I am always the last to comment on certain issues that I see happening because I am a person who like to observe before I say anything because I always try to understand situation on both sides before I start saying anything. And first, to begin with, let me.
By the way, I want to
to.
commend you for your Facebook videos.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes. First, I want to say that let me just address the land issue since as it's a hot topic here, because I want to address Mr. Isaac, but first let me address the land issue. You know
Pastor,
yes.
Adrian, your background
Yes,
is very noisy.
Oh, probably it's in the. I'm going to step outside. This is what happens when the building is empty and you're talking in an empty building. You're hearing me better now, right?
Yes.
You're here? Okay. All right. Yes, I was saying that I am always the last person to comment on any issue I see, any hot topic that I see happening, because of the fact that I like to observe before I talk, and I like listening from both sides before I say anything, because when I talk, I don't want people to say that I am defaming the character because I'm saying things that they didn't say. I let them talk, then I repeat what they said. All right? And first to begin with, let me address the land issue, right? The land was sold under the People's National Party's administration for development to an investor, right? And what I blame that administration for is that the people that were there, they were squatting on the land before it was sold. Why didn't the then PNP administration find alternative residence for the people living there before they sell the land? Yeah, you see the land as a prime resort land, and people were living on it. Why didn't they then find alternative places for the people to live and move them there before they sold the land? Sorry, you hear me?
Very, very good, Pastor. Go ahead.
Yes, we're hearing you, but your background is very noisy.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Pastor.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, man.
Yes, it's a earbud that was giving problems, so I disconnected. Sorry about that. Right. So they sold the land. They sold the land that the people were living on without giving them an alternative. Watch this now. They have it tied up in court for many years. Because they sell the land with the people on it. They sold the land with the people on it. Then have it tied up in court for many years. Can you imagine you as an investor come and you purchase a property to build your investment on? You're losing only to find out that that's a very expensive venture, in that you spend your money and purchase the land. And then now you have to be spending money on lawyers to get rid of the complications surrounding the land. That means the land has now become a disputed territory. You purchase a land, and the land is a disputed territory. First of all, the People's National Party's administration should never sell a land that is a disputed territory. They should clear up the disputes first before they sell the land.
But they didn't sell. They didn't sell any land. You know, the land was never sold to those people.
I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the investors that the land was sold to. I'm not talking about the people living on it now.
Okay.
Because I'm saying what I'm saying is that the people were living on it before the land was sold, right? And so it right there is a problem, because first of all, if you're gonna sell a land with people on it, the land is going to become a disputed territory, which we saw happening there as the land as it's been in court, in an outer court, right? In an outer court. So what I blame the People's National Party's administration for is to sell the land with the people on it without providing them an alternative place to live. In other words, they just throw them out like garbage. They just throw out the people like garbage to fend for themselves, right? Can you imagine you as an investor, you purchase your property only to find out that you can't do with your property what you had purchased it to do? You have to be spending money in millions of dollars with lawyers and all of these things, trying to get people off your property. I do believe that what had happened, is out of frustration. The people get frustrated now. So the demolition, the demolition thing that they do, I do believe that it's last resort. I do believe that it's last resort. And frustration will cause people to do things without even thinking. So I believe that the demolition exercise came out of frustration. The people them tired of the foolishness. Another thing is what I've seen happening with the People's National Party is that many persons prefer them because they are the governing. Their administration said chop your way through things. That's why they sell the land with the people in money, because they want the people to chop the investor, and the investor is having none of it, right?
Which is okay.
They want, because
okay. Yes.
You're not whenever I'm discussing the PNP, the TNT and exposing them. Many people come at me because why? They know that what I'm saying is true. Many of them say they prefer the People's National Party because the Jamaica Labour Party, they have to work, but they get more things under the People's National Party. Why? Because the People's National Party tell them chop. They don't tell them work for what you want. They don't tell them get skills.
Yeah. Seriously, Pastor. If a member of the party, if them a member of the Jamaica Labour Party, had encouraged Jamaicans to chop the line, you think that minister could remain in the cabinet?
Exactly. So when I hear, remember during the election last year, running up to the election, they said PNP man that invited Mr. Mark Golden and Isaac, the same man that said to the people, break a bed foot or something and chop the government. What he don't tell the people, is that when you're chopping, is not Mr. Andrews' all this money you're chopping. It's not Mr. It is when you say that you're chopping money, you're chopping from the government. You're chopping the taxpayers' money. It's a taxpayers' money that you're chopping. Who thief from themselves? You ever hear any sensible people thief from themselves?
Quite true.
Exactly. So instead of saying to the people, one person was disqualified because they mentioned the word chop, and the People's National Party, they were doing some damage control there because everybody knew that that's what the People's National Party always promote. That's why if you notice, most of the people that support them are garrison people. Even my aunt, when she heard what I did, the video that I did about with Isaac Buchanan there, she said that some persons call her from overseas and send her the video and said, tell your nephew to leave those people alone. I said, that's why I do a follow-up video and said, why is it that we can't leave Mr. Holness alone? Because he is the Prime Minister of the country. And when we see him, we see Jamaica. Why can't leave Mr. Isaac Buchanan alone? Because he is a lawmaker. He's a lawmaker and he represents people elected him to represent them.
Hold on there. Hold on there, Evangelist. Let me play a little bit of what your video.
Protected Cooper's Pen families to chop on government, chop line on government. Ladies and gentlemen, this man, for this statement, he led me to believe that he must have been on some top high grade weed when he was making this statement. You know what to chop mean, ladies and gentlemen? To steal, to get involved in dishonest activities. That's what chop mean.
So you feel that he was smoking, sir?
Must have been smoking something, man. Because how can you be a lawmaker and telling people to steal, to get involved in fraud?
Yeah. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Instead of saying to the people, all right, we wrong the investor for pushing him for demolishing your house during the middle of in the wee hours of the morning when many persons were probably in their bed sleeping and they weren't expecting this. Right? Instead of saying to the people, all right, we're working with the government to find an alternative, or probably they use that option already and it's going nowhere, so the people getting frustrated. I bet if they never start demolishing houses, nobody would be trying to find an alternative place for those people right now to live.
Fantastic. But I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to run. Take care of yourself.
Yes, you too, sir.
All right. Fantastic. Great. All right. Okay. Cambo. Hi, Cambo. No, we don't have Cambo. Phoenix, 876. Don't have Phoenix either. Let's go back then to member Harry. And
I'm here.
Oh, okay. You are the final.
Good night, everyone.
Yes. Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
So, my take with this whole thing, you kind of heard my point of view from the other night, right?
Uh-huh.
And I still stand by it, and I'll double down as well. Now, in relations to the squatters, even though I think that they've passed that stage, I do conclude that to this point, they have been duplicitous because they know the backstory that they know what's going on behind the scenes, right? But when they came out swinging at this current administration, even though they made a deal. And instead of letting it all out, they're still covering for the opposition party.
Uh-huh.
So
they are duplicitous.
In district, yes, they are. Because there's more to the story. We had to go and do our own research to really find out what was going on. Because when they came out with a totally different narrative.
Yes.
So had we not done our own research, we would not have known the real truth behind the entire situation. So at this point, this whole victimization of these people, I just think it needs to be put to sleep.
Okay. What do you make of the comments made by the judge? The hardship suffered by Mr. Chisholm appeared to result from a view held by public officials and the claimant that because he did not come from a tradition of large landowners, he had no right to own such a large parcel of land, and that the remedy was an emancipation of minds. What do you make of that?
Well, someone on the panels referenced slavery, right? So if you're not from an elitist group, if you're not from an elitist group, basically then you are, let's say, an outcast. You're not deserving of wealth. You're basically not deserving of anything. So that's what I'm gathering from what was said.
Place it for me, if you can, in the context of Jamaica's political realities today, because This is modern day enslavement.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear you.
I'm saying to you that we just celebrated 64 years of independence. And here we have before us that a judge
There's
saying,
some feedback somewhere.
a judge is saying that this is really not a dispute about law. It is something else, a prejudicial case brought before me, that the law, in my view, is clear. The land, there is an owner for the land. The people are there illegally. Why are you bringing this case to me? Is it that you don't think that the man who owns the land should be owning this large parcel of land? What does that say about us as a society?
It says a lot about us. The whole mantra of us being an honest people and, people that is resilient and supportive of each other. That's actually a pseudo kind of narrative, if you get what I'm saying. So, in other words,
I think I've lost her. Wow. I've lost her. Caller, I don't know what happened to you, but we've lost you. Are we gonna get her back? What is the Jamaican dream? The Jamaican dream. Remember Harry?
Yes, neighbor.
Well, remember, what a night we have had talking about this very important matter. Remember, I am disappointed that the discussion has been largely emotional, and that the real discussion that needs to move us beyond this point has not yet started.
Well, the thing about it, neighbor, it is just what is being put out in the news that will keep it at an emotional standpoint for a little while, right? And it's something in which the people themselves, having conversations like this, now have to move the needle. Here's why. One, the opposition will keep it political and continue to appeal to the emotions of the people, that are those who are on the land, and that evokes even more emotions to the wider Jamaicans. So what I mean is, you'll hear that there's a baby out in a pan, out in the night dew. You will hear all these stories, and that is something that appeals to any human emotions, and as such, people will continue to speak along that line. But as you get to understand the full story, how it unfolds, I think that is what will change the channel in which we have the conversation, moving from an emotional standpoint to now solution oriented, right? And also, we can't depend on the wider media to bring common sense to the situation, right? Because apart from the nationwide media who actually broke clarity on this news, there's no other media that has done so to provide the people with the valuable information, so we know as a nation how we will view the government, how we'll view what happened with the courts, and now move the conversation to how we solve not just the Cooper's pen issue, but the additional, or I believe it's 600,000
yes,
individuals as well in other areas. And what I can commend the government on is an attempt to start that very quickly. Now, where does that conversation start, neighbor? It starts with the legislators. And that is where they come into play. How you mediate, how you intercede on these people's behalf. Because what we saw from the Cooper's Pen case, it was not an interceding. It's not a proper way of trying to solve the problem. It was actually something trying to institutionalize, kicking down the issue down the road or kicking the can down the road for as long as you can, while preying on the ignorance of the people, not trying to empower them and get them to sustainable solutions in solving a wider issue for the country. Because this, sooner or later, if not resolved, neighbor, or we put things in place to start that process, will become a national crisis at the helm, right? And we know in terms of how delicate the situation is, because of course you have the political affiliations and so on. A lot of communities of this area who have been set up in this way actually help decide elections, specifically constituencies, right? That is the reality most persons may not want to speak on. So it's a delicate matter. Again, we don't have an opposition with any true sense of alternative. I mean, they contributed to this issue massively, because the truth about it, neighbor, this Cooper's Pen case would have never been in the public arena in this magnitude if the then government and Minister of Housing did not attempt to prevail the course of justice and also to mislead constituents of that area to try and gain political relevance and political loyalty, right? Because that's what caused this issue. And as they prolong it, it gained more traction. It started to now send a message to both investors and ordinary Jamaicans with aspirations that, hey, you can do everything by the books. And because of some form of political agenda, you will see representatives from a government who should be protecting you, by the way, sought to use government resources to take away what is lawfully and legally and individuals, right? And that sends a very strong message to the wider investors, especially diaspora who are looking to coming home. In fact, those who would have left Jamaica because of poor governance under the People's National Party to fend for themselves, build a life, and now look to have acquired land while they're away, working their ass off, to now come back and to find that this may be an issue where, having dedicated so many years to ensure that your life is better and you coming back home to retire in your peaceful country, finally, you now have to fight for what is yours, which shouldn't have been the case. So it's going to be one in which the current government have to meticulously handle, neighbor. I can tell the people of Jamaica and those listening that this is not a quick fix. This is something that will require also a decision or several decisions by citizens when the critical moment comes, because this solution that is going to come needs continuity. You cannot disrupt a solution of this magnitude that is coming to think that, hey, maybe if you put the shoe on the other foot, there'll be something else. You have to analyze what is best for you, who is best for you, and what does the state currently and proper governance is doing to ensure that it instills investor confidence, upholds the law, protects the citizens, both private and otherwise, and also altogether move Jamaica going forward to a better developed small member state as we look to bring out our dreams and aspirations individually, regionally, and as a national.
Fantastic comments those are, member. Natsika, coming to you. Joshua, how are you?
Blessings, neighbor. Blessings, everyone. Night.
Hi. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just listening to Harry, and I end up on him as his profile. I get to realize, I know this guy from somewhere. Harry usually go to Jago, man.
Yeah, man. Born Young Street, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think we went to school together, neighbor. It's small, really, man.
Harry? What?
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, it's two Jago men on the program tonight. But he went over to the other side of Old Hope Road. It's not Old Hope Road, Hope Road. Papine.
Oh, what?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man.
Were you ahead of him or he was ahead of you?
No, man, I think he was ahead of me.
Okay. Okay. He was a good student?
Yes, man. You know, Jago only produced the best.
Ah, all right. Okay. What's happening?
I was just checking in, listening the conversation, so just I would pop in and say night to everybody.
Yeah.
But I guess you guys are referring discussing the situation with the land that has been reclaimed.
Sure. How you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I haven't been like tuning into it 100% to understand the full something, but I've been seeing news releases here and there, and it just seems like there's been a lot of misinformation in the public, because my understanding, Carl, said Casey all the way. My understanding is that the land was sold a while back. I don't know if it's true. I'm asking.
Yes. The people living on it were squatters.
Okay. So I mean, I've seen in the media, especially from certain popular profiles on TikTok, it appears that the people are blaming the government, right? But again, I'm not the biggest expert when it comes down to politics and how that operates. But what is the government's responsibility in this matter or situation? Is it that the government is responsible for relocating the individuals? What exactly, or how do they step into this situation, or if they're supposed to?
Well, you know that governments bear responsibilities to its citizens, and especially in a situation like this, the government is going to be seen as the kind of the daddy. I think the argument that many people are not looking at is what does the law authorizes, and the law having made a ruling, how is that ruling to be executed? Now, under the whole system of what is called separation of power, the prime minister could not stop the order of the court. If the court issues an order that you have to move from where you live, you can challenge that with a higher court. You can't challenge it with the politician. And there is very good reason for that, because, and Joshua, there is this argument in Jamaica now about the Caribbean Court of Justice vis-a-vis the Privy Council. And one of the reasons why there are doubts that the Caribbean Court of Justice should be our final appellate court is that there are concerns that the judges could be influenced by politicians. Now, you know the Vibes Cartel case.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the Vibes Cartel case went to the Privy Council in the United Kingdom, and the Privy Council overturned a ruling made by a court in Jamaica. So if it wasn't for the Privy Council, Vibes Cartel probably would still be in jail in Jamaica.
Correct.
Right. So then what it is that a government is to do when a court rules, but this case is a little bit more complex, because it is the very government of the People's National Party that was trying to use the court to allow the people to remain on the land. And although they were squatters, you understand what I'm saying to you? So the Cooper Spen story did not begin when the bulldozers arrived. It's a much larger historical failure of governments to resolve land, housing, and the ownership question. And what I don't want Jamaicans to ever miss is that the landowner has a right. It's not state. It's not state land, sir. It's private land. No, would you buy a piece of land, sir? You're a young man and you haven't yet started your family, etc. Would you suppose you buy a piece of land in the country? You buy it for say $7-8 million and you leave and go abroad. Now when you come back, you see a man build up a house on it. What you would do?
No, it's definitely unfair, and that's
no. But what would you do about that man?
I mean, maybe just a normal regular citizen, so I would try to take legal action against the man.
Yes, so you all right. So the man said to you, say, boy, you know, say my baby mother pregnant and me baby mother just have a cesarean section. You can't move off of your land, and you give him 20 years, and he's still there, and you know ready to come home, come build your land.
Well, the baby have baby now.
Huh?
The baby have baby now after 20 years.
What are you to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, and I think, you know, it's really just a shifting of accountability and responsibility. Because as you say, I mean, people are just looking at it one side, and I think politics is also, you know, a big part of it, because I think people are trying to take advantage of the situation to, you know, spread misinformation as well as to make things look a certain way, right? But the truth be told, even the scenario that you just painted, I mean, somebody purchased the land and the land is rightfully theirs, right? And you take advantage of the fact that, you know, the land is available and build up a house on it, you know, not taking into account the risk associated with what you're doing. And then after, you know, things start going bad, now is when you're crying wolf. It's unfair to people who, you know, have actually thought about
you drive, right? Have you ever driven an uninsured car?
I don't think so. I don't believe so.
So at all times that you have been on the road, your papers have been up to date.
No, because police stopped me already, and you know them alert me to the fact that my fitness was out for a couple of days.
Correct. Now, right. if I have driven an uninsured car, but that's a risk that I took for myself, right. And I very well know that if I go on the road with this car and the police stop me, I know the consequences.
Correct. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying to you? Now, don't you think that those people knew the consequences when they were taking the risk of investing in the property, knowing very well they have no title and that at any time they could be removed?
Of course, but you know, my question to you, I answer your question as yes, right? But the question is, did you expect any better though from individuals who have made that decision in the first place to invest on a land that had so much risk of them losing it, right, in the near future? It's not a good decision in the
and that is the point I'm making, that if you drive a car that is not licensed, you know you are taking a risk. You're not an idiot, because you know the law. But you still take a chance and say, well, you hope that the police not take you. So these people were living in hope that somehow the owner would never remove them from it. That is their risk that they took.
Yeah, probably I would say the owner drop out.
Right, that is their risk they take. So you know, this emotion, the man who just came on the program just now said, listen, we can't make decisions on emotions, you know. You can't. Because I know, Joshua, that if you turn up at your workplace and you see a man sitting in your car, you know, emotions will say to you, but him look like a little sick. But your sense is going to say to you, I am paying for this car, brethren. You have to come out. Eh?
Yeah.
I mean, own this. We can't allow a man because he say, boy, you know, the man say, you know, so my baby mother just have baby, so you make him go on with your car and say, go on with this car, sir. You would do that?
No.
Not because he have a 3-month-old baby in a bad pan. You're going to say, all right, stay. No, you can't make decisions like that.
Plus taking in, you have to also put everything into context. I mean, how long were they living on the land? I mean, even if you're squatting for the whole purpose of, you know, bettering yourself and, you know, easing some of the pressure so you can do other things. You know, it seems like People just wanted to live there and the generation just die out and the people them landing. Don't make no sense.
Yeah. I want you to comment on this, Joshua, too, that the judge that ruled on this matter made a comment that we've been discussing tonight. It says, the hardship suffered by Mr. Chisholm is the owner of the land, appeared to result from a view held by public officials and the claimant that because he, Mr. Chisholm, did not come from a tradition of large landowners, he had no right to own such a large parcel of land. And that the remedy was an emancipation of their minds. So the judge is saying that the government at the time brought a case, and the judge seems to be saying that this was social prejudice against the landowner. Do you feel as a black man growing up in Jamaica that you have all the freedom to achieve what you want to achieve?
I want to say it's mixed, right? But I would say 90% yes, right? And I'll tell you why. Because I mean, so far, I haven't really encountered any.
So if a police stops you on the road, they will not seem prejudicial against you because of the car you drive.
Prejudicial in a good way most of the times.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
Yeah, most of the times they stop me, them ask me my work, and then them say, all right, go along, sir.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really, had any encounters, in life that's would have swayed my opinion on that.
But don't you find this very troubling that a judge would be suggesting that the state would be bringing a case before them that seems nothing to do with the law, but that them think the man shouldn't own so much land?
Yes. But again, that leads back to probably politics, which I said, I realize is really a big of why this information about everything that is going on. Because I mean, just spending 10 minutes, 15 minutes here on the live, I've been able to understand fully the situation of, the whole Cooper's place, right? But if you go on social media and FYP right now, trust me, it seems like the government is the one responsible for doing such a bad thing, pushing all the people out of the place, which that's not the case, right? So
how do you know that is not the case?
Based on, as I said, I wasn't really following the full details of the case, but based on our conversation tonight, right, and just listening, even before I got on here, I was able to deduce much of what was really going on, right? In that.
Well, let me pause and tell my listeners that is the benefit of education, and that is why I am a big promoter of education, because it develops critical thinking. Here's a young man saying, in 15 minutes time, 15 minutes, by just listening, he was able to deduce that this has nothing to do with the government. So what about those people who are blaming the government, Joshua? And some of them have degrees.
And I tell you that is really a plot to churn the actual information and truth to benefit their agenda, right? Is a part of their politics, I would think. Because I've seen it, I've seen persons who, claim to be very intelligent and, gone to the universities and what have you and have a big platform. And I passed a few of their videos and, I've realized that majority, no matter what the situation is, it's really to one end, which is to blame a party for whatever, is going on, right? It's never to really discuss the truth, right, and lay accountability and promote reasoning or critical thinking. That's not the case. It's really just to take advantage of the people's emotion, to sway them to possibly think a specific type of way. That's what I've been seeing in the media, right? So that's why I'm saying that, since I've been here, just listening, I've been able to kind of understand the full situation, right? And this has nothing to do with politics. It's just facts. That is exactly what is going on, right? After that, I can make my own opinion or come up with my own conclusion on the matter, right? But at least I have, the information to begin with.
One more question before you go, because I'm running out of time. The Prime Minister is saying that the government will have to do something about the social media bloggers that are out there misinforming the public. To what extent do you think that Jamaica need to get a hold of this as a society? And what damage you think social media is doing to the people?
That is a question, neighbor, that I don't think can be constrained to just one life, because I think social media is really damaging our society on multiple levels, right? But as it relates to just what we're referring to now, it's bad because I already believe just at the base level, we are not a country or a culture that promotes critical thinking. It's really just acting out of emotions, right? Without getting any type of substantial information to sway your opinions on a matter. That's just the culture of a lot of Jamaicans, right? Especially the ones that are not necessarily or don't pursue education or value education, right? So with that culture being paired with a lot of misinformation, especially when you have platforms that, platforms with big, following, it really does our society even worse, right? Because you're just adding gas to a fire that seems to be, burning indefinitely, right? Yeah, so it's something that really needs some attention, because as I said, if I didn't know better, I would believe that the government is literally trying to just go around and hurt people.
That is the but you did not hear the counter narrative from the government?
Honestly, no.
Oh,
honestly,
well
no,
that's
because
that's a problem then.
Yes, because again, the truth is, so you see social media, well, and it all depends on where majority of, the population, is tuned into, because, probably if it was Instagram, probably I would have seen, I think I saw something come out in the Gleaner on Instagram related to the matter, but majority of what I've seen is on TikTok, and it has been with the same narrative, because again, you're gonna see on your FYP what is going viral.
And the majority of of Jamaicans, you think, are on TikTok?
Yes, for sure. TikTok is running the place now, right? But what is going viral is going to be led by people. Because remember, I said emotions and reactions is what push things viral. Is when people, are compelled to react to something or actually watch it or leave their opinions. And again, we are in a culture where people like to, just react before thinking. So if you sell them a good story that ignites their emotions and feelings towards a certain matter, then you're going to get the viral video that you want.
What has created such a society though? Because is it the very society that you grew up in the 90s? Well, the 2000s, you are What has created this society?
I think, as you said, neighbor, it's things that should be developed but aren't necessarily developed, in everyone's journey. And I think education has a big thing to do with it, because I think one of the things that education tries to develop in individuals is critical thinking, listening, understanding, and making decisions based on information that you have.
Yes.
Right? But, majority of Jamaicans, unfortunately, don't necessarily value education as much, and therefore won't value or be able to develop a lot of those things that are necessary to really, deduce and analyze, certain scenarios to understand what is really going on. The moment them get a story, oh, that's a really go on, boom. This and that, and them tell them friend, them tell them auntie, them tell them family member, and them post a video and they talking all bag of foolishness, not knowing where the information is actually coming from and how to validate it, right? In my line of work, I am a data person, as you know, so I have to validate every single thing that I'm going to use to make a decision, right? Because I know the risk that is associated with and again, as a data person, I can appreciate it. They say garbage in, garbage out, right? So your information that you're starting off with has to be legitimate and it has to be valid, right? You can't just go off for anything and then expect to have a foolproof outcome. It doesn't work like that.
As an outsider, Joshua, if you were to give the government a piece of advice as how do you correct this malaise, what would you say?
I think I have a really busy life, and I think the fact that certain things can reach me faster than the truth. I believe the government needs to be more creative. I think they're probably their younger leg or segment in their social media approach, right? I mean, I see Jamaica Constabulary Force doing it, right? They go viral every time, right? And I think it's just how creative they are in terms of relaying certain information and just kind of keeping up with the times, right? You have to change the approach if your intention is to grasp the public and kind of relay the information that you need out there, right? Things and times are changing, especially when it comes down to the media. And I feel like they just need to put more work in as it relates to that, right? Because I believe something like this could have been cleared up earlier. Based on how long I've been seeing it running on TikTok, I think it could have been cleared up earlier by the government, so the people can actually understand exactly what.
And you think that the people are capable of understanding?
Yes.
In a political environment that is so tribalized, where one side pushes a narrative for their political interest and their supporters do the very same.
Well, I'm not necessarily referring to those who are hard-headed to believe anything, because for sure you can tell.
Not hearing you so well.
You hearing me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm referring to those who aren't necessarily so hard-headed that if you tell them that you have an apple and them say bring it come, and when you show them the apple themselves say no, you don't have apple, it's a pear you have. I'm not talking about those individuals, right? I'm talking about the persons who would actually want to know what is really going on, but are being misled by people who have
an agenda,
connection to them, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Those are the individuals that I think can be saved.
Right? Yes.
So I think the government needs to do a little better as it relates to the media reach. Just how you reach the population through social media. Especially when I think, especially in situations like this where there's a lot of emotions surrounding it, and a lot of people are tuning in to understand exactly what is going on.
Yes.
Because I've seen people leave opinions from overseas. People overseas looking in, and the narrative is that the government is doing that, and they must say, why? Can't believe this is what my country gone to, and all of them stuff, right? So. Yeah, the truth needs to be more available, especially in these type of times that we're living in.
Yeah, well, fantastic, man. Love to talk to you a little bit more on it. Yeah. You may have to join the politics and join the party. You and member Harry, member.
Harry sound well closer to it, right?
Yes.
Very, very clear.
You have to recruit him, member.
We'll see, Dave. We know who's the great recruiter in the bunch,
Aye. Yes. Yeah. All right, Joshua. Thanks, man.
All right, cool. Night, everyone.
Good. Matsik. Hello.
Good evening to everybody.
Close us out, Nomatic. Please close us out.
Yes, I just want to make one important point because we know time is down.
Yeah.
Neighbor, what we need to focus on and try to help the populace and the listeners to realize is that when a matter goes to court and a judge make a conclusion or made any comment at the end of the trial about the situation, it is the fact that the argument was brought up before him. The judge don't come and make wild bash about people or things or situation. And this is in regards to Mr. Chisholm being considered to be not a privileged person to obtain such a large parcel of land. This was an argument that was presented by the government to the court at that time, in a neighbor.
Yes.
It would have had to be brought to the attention of the judge by these people. This is a part of their defense. And when we look at it, we need to look and see who is safe with PNP being in governance. Because on one hand, Mr. Chisholm, who is not privileged to own certain land, may have worked his ass off to obtain what he had. And then the people who are squatting at the same time would be considered to be a poor people, wanting to elevate to be of standard, is also being pulled down. Because the matter that we are looking at is when we look at when the judge says that it seems to be the people seems to be misled by politician. That's operative, neighbor, and we cannot forget these things. Politicians mean to say that these people were a part of what is happening. Politician was tied up in what was happening. And when we look at the situation, it is the administration of the People's National Party who have been trying to ventilate this from the inception. As a government, knowing that what they are bringing forward to the court is not within the law, but it is to buy time using the court. That's why the judge at the end says it is the court view that the application is void and of sincerity.
Yes, that's true.
And it is an attempt to pervert the course of justice.
Yes.
An
Attempt, absolutely.
We look at the argument where the government bring to the table and what that does, Mr. Viewers and listeners and neighbor, it angered the plaintiff, Mr. Chisholm, and it led to him did what happened now with the people being demolished.
Yeah.
He was treated unfairly.
Yes, that's what the court said. That's what the court said. He suffered, sir. He suffered.
He suffered, yes. And it means that his emotion reached to a point where it doesn't matter how a man feel, me I go get them off of my property, comes what near.
Yes.
That is the reason why he went back to the court to get a writ for the demolition. A final one for the removal of them within the confinement of the law. And also we need to remember that the law gives the authority for demolition of property that is illegally settled.
Well, you know something, Matsik,
yes,
tie this up for me tomorrow so that we can do the Sunday review, no? I'm out of time.
Yeah, all right, we're going to do that.
All right.
I think that is it.
Tomorrow. Okay.
So,
now today,
blessings.
take care of yourself. Today, the country said goodbye to Stephen Francis. Harry, did you know Mr. Francis, no? Stephen? Remember?
Yes, neighbor, Stephen Francis.
Yes. A few thoughts on him, Harry, as we go.
To be honest, neighbor, in terms of the history of him, I think he's a man that was blessed because, neighbor, you know that he wasn't necessarily someone who went to study how to coach and all of that.
No.
He was never that. No. Right? A man who sat on, I believe, 2 degrees as well that has nothing to do with sports.
Oh my goodness.
and his brother led him there because he was an athlete.
Are you on YouTube, member? Can you go to YouTube now?
Let me try. Yeah.
I want you to look at a picture that the Gleaner took at Stephen Francis' funeral and make a comment on it for me.
Let me take a quick look.
I tell you.
It's on the Gleaner?
No, it's on the show. Politics Matter.
All right, let me.
Yes. Yes. I tell you. Fascinating stuff.
Oh Lord. I tell you.
Boy.
Let me just come back over to take that. I think he's one of the I want to say one of the forefathers who have helped us revolutionize athletics, neighbor. How we will go about it, the seriousness that shaped how the rest of the world look at us. The hard work and dedication, and I know a lot of people will say, just by looking at him, that in rough and whatever, but he was a principled man.
Yeah.
And if you got to know him, you would have seen pretty much the softer side of him. But what I can
why do you think the Gleaner would be publishing this picture about remembering Stephen Frano?
Yeah, but I don't want to leave that to the head reporter sign off on it, because it raises questions.
It does.
It raises questions.
I mean, you're remembering a giant like this, and this is the type of picture that you put it up, man. Boy, I tell you, the Gleaner sometimes.
they have lost, as I said, the Gleaner itself and
yeah,
their sister stations have lost the art of journalism, neighbor, because this is somebody who deserves his flowers. Even before he passed, he deserved it for his hands-on approach and how he has helped Jamaica athleticism move forward. It is no easy feat, and what we've seen is that our current success has been built on his foundation, if we're being frank, in a neighbor, right?
That's true.
Because we have continued things he has done, things he has adapted from elsewhere, and things that came natural to him. And I think he's no short of a hero within his very own space.
That's true.
And I think we should now look at a man like that and reverence him in the way that he truly deserved, because he did this, neighbor, not in an attempt to gain any national prowess or to be lauded. It was something he loved. He did it with great dignity, with precision, with exceptional discipline, and he stayed true to himself, neighbor. And I think those characteristics is what any decent human being, by the search of the word, would love to ensure that they embody for their lives. I think he's worthy of getting the send-off from the nation that warrants such a stalwart in the business, neighbor.
Thank you so much for tonight, member. Take care of yourself.
Same to your neighbor. Good night, everybody.
Well, I tell you something. I was shocked today when I saw the Gleaner put up this picture, remembering Stephen Frano. I mean, I'm not criticizing the young lady. She obviously put on a dress and attended a funeral service, but there's a time and place for everything, There is and this was not the place to for this picture. This picture could have been avoided. We don't want to remember Stephen Frano with this type of picture. Okay? And I think it was kind of a little bit over the top by the Gleaner. What do you think? What do you think, listeners, on YouTube? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Great to have your company, and we'll be back here with you tomorrow at 6 o'clock for the Sunday review. So we hope that you will join us then tomorrow at 6 o'clock. thank you so much. Please remember to like and share and watch the videos and watch them as much as you can. Support the channel. Until we join you tomorrow. By the way, I showed you Scratchy's picture tonight. You that's Scratchy here. This is Scratchy. A lot of you didn't get a chance to see Scratchy. There's Scratchy. All right. So those of you who want to see our brother Scratchy, there is he. There is Scratchy. So that's Scratchy. And of course, he is the one that scratches it off for us. And this brother here is Harry. That's Harry. Yep, he's coming up now. Here is Harry. Okay. All right. All right. So that's Harry. Here's he. That's Harry. That's Scratchy Harry, and this is Caroline. All right. There she goes. There she goes. There you are. That's the team here at the Politics Matter Jamaica, and we're happy to have you. So until we join you tomorrow, thank you so much. Please remember to like and share, and of course send a gift if you can. The Zelle account is 954-635-8732. That's 954-635-8732. Or you can send cash app. That's $Caroline Perrier. Until I join you tomorrow, have a fantastic rest of the Saturday night and take care of yourselves and your family. Okay? Bye-bye. All right, TikTok.